It's the moment you have all been waiting for. All the Mods 9 to the Sky is an epic kitchen sink mod pack. It challenges you to dive deep into countless mods and quests to craft the All the Mods star. But you know what? We are not stopping there. In this video, we are pushing past the limit and going for 100% completion plus the optional quests. But a quick serious talk. Infrequent uploads probably isn't the best way to grow a YouTube channel, so if you do like this kind of thing, then please consider liking and subscribing and sharing this video with some friends. So if you're ready for what's about to unfold, then let's get this adventure started. The first task is to make sure that our island is fully lit up. Hitting F7 brings up the light menu, and any yellow X's mean that mobs can spawn at night. Having mobs right now would just slow us down, and I am planning on speedrunning early game as much as possible. So let me welcome you to the Cozy Cottage. I've chosen this starting island because it's got a ton of space for us to work in. Now looking at the quest log, it's a little bit daunting. There's some easy mods and some heavy hitters that we're going to need to work through. Advanced Mekanism? Yeah, I can't believe I'm going to be doing it either. The main goal is to make the ATM star. However, it's going to take a ton of ingenuity to get to that point. Once we have that, then we can work on getting to 100%. So stay tuned for that. So finally, let's start off chopping down this old tree here and clearing away all of these petals as they are going to get in the way. I think I seen this in an Alfred GG video once, but if we build up 3 blocks and remove the bottom 2, then if we plant on the diagonal, it forces larger trees to spawn, giving us more wood per sapling. Combining that with the twerk mod, we should be pretty set to get wood as fast as possible. 20 logs, incredible. 25? Yeah, this works. Bounce, 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 and chop. Right, after some log farming, we can make up a crafting table and immediately upgrade that to a crafting table on a stick for 3x3 crafting on the go. And we can pop down a couple of chests to dump all of the junk into. Now let's turn a bunch of these sticks into crooks by leading them into a life of crime. Using them on leaves, we have a small chance to get silkworms, which is our main access to string. And we're gonna need a lot of string. Using one on leaves, over time it's gonna infest the whole canopy. While we wait, let's craft up a crafting station for the sole purpose of being able to craft from within a connected chest. The first bulk craft being as many oak sieves as we can afford. 20 for now seems good. A 5x4 grid, now we just need 20 meshes to go into these. Making sure to use the crook, we can break the infested leaves for string. Just under 2 stacks from one tree. Nice! That string can then be crafted into string mesh, these can be popped into the sieves, and we can begin our brief manual Ex Nihilo part of this playthrough. I'll show you how to speedrun some of Ex Nihilo in just a moment. But first, it was bugging me that it wasn't a 5x5 grid, so I'm gonna make 5 more sieves. Yeah, that's better. It's now nice and full. So, step 1 to speedrunning this port of Ex Nihilo is auto clickers. We need to right click on grass as fast as possible, and a macro can do it so dang fast. The next tip is that if you press Shift and K while hovering over a pebble, it'll auto condense everything into a block form. But yeah, we're gonna need a lot more cobblestone than that. Alright, I sped up the auto clicker and it is so much better. And before you ask, I use the macro function on my Corsair mouse for all of my macro needs. Next, we're gonna need to make up 9 stone hammers and combine those into a compressed hammer. That means that if we compress our cobblestone once, we can essentially 9x our hammering speed. Then the remaining cobble can be made into stone ones. Compressed cobble in the offhand, we can use the one to place down 9 at a time. Then with the hammer equipped, holding down the Ultimine key, we can hammer up to 64 compressed cobblestone in one go. That's gravel done. Nice. We'll hammer 1 compressed gravel into 9 sand, and 1 compressed sand into 9 dust. Quest complete. Each of those hammered items can be sieved and we'll need to do a lot of each, but for now we're going to concentrate on the gravel. This is another place that you're going to want to use a macro to spam right click as fast as you can. Doing this with gravel is going to get us a ton of ore chunks, which is our route to not needing to do this manually forever. Gotta love the ASMR plops though. Not a bad haul of chunks for a few minutes of work. Using the K trick again, we can compress these to their ore form nice and quickly. Let's make up a furnace and throw in some iron ore to smelt. For now we don't have any ore doubling available to us, so 1-to-1 will have to do. While this smelts, we're gonna craft up a dank, the most important early game item. Inside, we're gonna set a filter for every pebble except stone. Pressing Ctrl to lock the slots, we can then set this to void pickup. Watch this. Tons of pebbles on the ground, and the only ones that go into the inventory are stone. Everything else goes into the tank and is deleted automatically. It's amazing. Iron done, we're going to start with 2 buckets because we're going to need these shortly. And next we're going to need a few oak barrels. We can pop these outside, and if it rains they will fill up with water, saving us time later. Just in case it doesn't rain soon, we can craft up some flint shears and then use them to get some leaves. Then make up a wooden crucible and pop the leaves in. Over time it's slowly going to generate a little bit of water. And would you know 2 of them is twice as much water. Woohoo! I've just noticed this quest here for a head start, so yeah, we're taking that. But while we wait for water, it's back to stone gathering, as any time waiting right now is wasted time. Here's a trick for you. When your compressed stone hammer breaks, you can just repair it with cobblestone. It is so very cheap. So let's grab that bucket of water and use it with the lava in the quest to make a cobble gen. Let's pop this on the wall, then convert a chest over to a storage drawer and pop the drawer underneath it. And pop the drawer above it, and it'll passively generate cobblestone for us. Nice! Next we're on to sieving sand, in the hopes that we can get a lot of bone meal. That's going to be our way into lava generation. Scrap that, it actually dust we need, not sand. I always do this. There's the bone meal. Nice. Dang, I completely forgot to make an infinite water source. Speedrun failed. Thanks for watching. Bye. It's fine, there's a free water source over here in the fountain that we can use. There, infinite water. We'll use some of this in a wooden barrel with some dust to get a block of clay. That'll be straight into clay balls, ready for what is next. Combining clay balls and bone meal gives us some porcelain clay, which allows us to make a crucible. Once smelted, we can use this above a heat source to melt cobblestone into lava. We're gonna grab a bunch of flint and turn our string mesh into flint mesh. Next, we're gonna need some droppers so we can craft up some item pipes, and we'll also need some fluid pipes with a pipe wrench. We're also gonna craft up a singularity tank. Let's pop this down next to our crucibles, and using some fluid pipes we can pull the generated lava out of them and into our tank. On the crucibles we'll place some item pipes, they'll connect to a storage drawer which for now we're going to manually fill with cobblestone. Nice and easy lava automation. Initially we only really need this to make higher tier cobble gens. Up next we need some blocks of copper, which we're going to use to make some copper ore hammers. This is our first introduction to ore doubling. 14 raw ore to 28 dust. It's very expensive on the copper. With the lava we made, we can upgrade to a tier 2 cobble generator and straight away upgrade it to tier 3. Let's try out this simple compacting drawer. Pop it above the cobble gen and oh, it auto compresses the cobblestone. That's very nice. But now we're back to using gravel on these sieves with our newly acquired flint meshes, which have a slightly higher chance to get iron chunks. We still need a lot of iron. The only annoying thing about ore doubling is first we need to place down the iron and the gold in order to turn into raw ore first. Now then, let's quickly make up some white dye and some oak barrels from sophisticated storage. We can use the dye to turn them into just regular barrels, which we can upgrade to iron barrels and then gold barrels. We can pop this next to our crafting station, and now we have a lot more storage space to keep our crafting materials. There's also upgrade slots, but I don't think we need those just yet. We can also craft up an iron furnace and then a gold furnace, and that's because it's got some side configurability for automation. Smeltables into the top and it'll auto pull and push out to the right. Alright, I better get back to sifting gravel. I'll see you soon. Right, hopefully that's enough iron to get us to iron meshes. Oh, almost. 5 left to upgrade, that will be fine. Using gravel now, we have a small chance of getting diamonds, which is our next game changer. There they are. Nice. Not only do we have the ability to make better tools with more durability, we can make better barrels, furnaces, wands, the lot. Oh, and we filled our first double chest with chunks and we have moved over to a second one. Lots of sifting. Now next, we're going to craft up some low covalence dust, and medium covalence dust, and high covalence dust. Then we just need a little sugarcane to make some paper, and we can craft up the repair talisman. What this is going to do is it's going to start to repair most of the items in our inventory passively, which is going to be a massive help. Sadly, it's not going to work on the ore hammers though, so it's still going to be quite expensive on the copper to double ores. But the best part is we can throw it into our curio slot and forget it exists. Right, let's craft up a stone stone barrel and pop this into the corner over here. We'll pop water on top, and now if we put lava into this barrel, we have super easy obsidian. 4 obsidian later, and I went ahead and crafted up the alchemical chest, which is super cheap, but we can use it to make the energy condenser. This is great because we can change any EMCable item for any other EMCable item, provided we have at least one of each. We'll put 1 steak into the filter and cobblestone into the main inventory. It'll consume the cobble and return us steak. 64 cobblestone will give us 1 steak. We have infinite cobblestone. We have infinite food. Nice. There's also a ton of other blocks that have EMC values like clay, which is going to save so much time. Right then, next let's craft up some RF Tools machine frames and we can make a coal generator, our very first source of power generation. Coal goes in and small power comes out. But with that, we can now progress on to getting started too, which is quite a lot. Starting with a lovely metallurgic infuser working towards windmills. Oh my goodness, they have updated Mekanism textures. That's kind of awesome. Well, I removed 1 cow and I was able to duplicate the leather, which is really nice actually. So let's make up some upgrade bases, which we're going to use to craft up a compacting upgrade. We can pop that into a barrel upgrade slot, and now if we throw in our ore chunks, it'll auto convert them over to ores. We just got to enable working in the GUI. This is going to save even more time because it's going to be vital for the automation that I've got planned coming up soon once power is up and running. Alright, it's time to craft up some metallurgic infusers, and we can pop these down next to the coal generator. The first one needs redstone dust and iron, and of course, we need to use the extreme sound muffler to mute everything Mekanism related. Our first of many infused alloy, which kind of looks like it's from the Create Confectionery mod now, and I don't know how I feel about that. The second one needs redstone dust and osmium ingots. This makes our basic control circuits. We'll use both to make some energy tablets and our first of many wind generators. Does it generate wind? Oh. Now all we need is some energy pipes and we can generate free energy. Don't tell Electro Boom. I guess we'll just hide it outside this wall for now. It's ugly but expandable. Like me. And while I'm thinking about it, let's quickly upgrade to a diamond furnace since we still have a ton of smelting to do. The next thing that we desperately need to make is a backpack, which we can upgrade all the way to diamond for a ton of space. In order to store the excess power, we're going to need an energy cube, which we're going to pop down between power generation and its usage. And yes, I know we're all over the place at the moment, but we're getting there. Now we're going to make a superheating element, as this has a 60 times heat modifier for making lava. Heater down, crucible on top, and we just need to pipe in the cobble. Okay, so we have power. Let's make up a flux sieve, our first mega automation item. Also a flux hammer, as they go hand in hand. We'll put the hammer up here and shift right click with the hammer to set the bottom to output, then the sieve is going to go directly below it. We can pop a diamond mesh into that and that should be up and running. We can extract cobble into the hammer and pop down an output barrel down below the sieve. We just want to make sure to blacklist the lapis, dripstone and amethyst shards for the compacting upgrade. That is now gravel automatically being sieved, and we can add more hammers to start sieving sand and dust as well. Please hold.
Breaking news! In a stunning turn of events, YouTube sensation Hobble is embarking on a challenge that has the gaming community buzzing. He is set to complete the notorious mod pack, all the mods 9 to the sky, to 100% completion in one video. Hobble, as you take on this monumental task, what's going through your mind?
This is a fairly large mod pack, so it's probably a terrible idea to attempt this.
And for our viewers out there, what's one thing they could do to help this video reach its full potential?
One thing. They could share this video everywhere so more people get to see it.
Thank you for your time, Hobble, and best of luck for the challenges ahead.
Thank you for holding. Your call is important to us. So now we are generating a comfortable amount of resources automatically. I've doubled up on furnaces to help with the burning of smelting those ores, though I think this system is probably going to be obsolete soon. More on that in just a moment. So I've tripled up on the auto hammer and sieves, so we now have gravel, sand and dust items coming in automatically, and things are going very well. I'm not sure it's worth auto smelting these just yet, as I really don't think we need all of these types of ores, at least not yet. Now I've gone ahead and made one diamond upgrade for each of the machines, as they're not terribly expensive, but the power cost increases very quickly. 512 RF per tick, I think, if I understand this correctly, but it does do 16 items at a time. However, we don't really have that much power yet, so it does maybe 3 or 4 at a time. I'm not sure spamming the wind generators is working how I intended. Okay, let's set up a small bit of create over here, and just like that we can set up some auto smelting without needing fuel. We're mostly going to use this later though for washing and haunting. Automating can be as simple as using 2 drawers, one with a pusher upgrade and one with a puller. We just need to use an item as a filter until we have one of what is being smelted. Iron dust into the left drawer which gets pushed to the depot, remove the filter, and now only iron ingots will be pulled into this drawer. Nice. Again, mostly going to be needed for washing and haunting. Okay, being the lazy person that I am, I have borrowed some dirt from the ground here because we need to sift a little bit to try and get a mycelium spore. We can then use that on an isolated bit of dirt and we're going to throw a barrel on top. Water goes in and very slowly it'll convert to witch water. Quest complete. Now let's grab some lava and use it on the barrel to get ourselves a netherrack. Now we're going to need an igneous extruder, which we're going to place on top of the netherrack. We'll have lava on one side, witch water on the other, and now we're generating netherrack automatically for free. My favorite kind. We can crush this down and use it on the sieves to get nether items like blaze powder and quartz. Yeah, I should remember to claim the quest rewards. Ooh, that's a lot of bits. Honestly, nothing too exciting though. Ah well, it was free. Alright, now we have witch water. We can use some sand on it to get a soul sand. We can pop this below our fan and light the fella on fire. Now we have a way to haunt. Spooky. Specifically, if we haunt a stack of sand, we will get a stack of soul sand. Much more efficient. You guessed it, we need to use it on our servers to get even more nether drops. It is also my only known source of prosperity shards, which means technically we could get into mystical agriculture right now. However, I am going to hold off until we have the phytogenic insulators as the FPS drops are intense. Okay, power is an issue, let's try and fix it. That means crafting up some dielectric paste and dipping our toes into the power mod. We'll craft up all of the bits and make ourselves a starter magmator, and then upgrade it to a basic one. Why does a starter one even exist? Like, seriously. We'll pop it down next to our lava production and pipe in the spicy soup. Can we stand in witch water? Yeah, that's gonna be a no, but we can route that power then to our energy cube. Yeah, I think we're gonna need a lot of these and in a much higher tier. Instead of doing that, let's make up some inscribers from Applied Energistics 2. Since shock horror, that's actually gonna be our storage and automation mod of choice. Instead of refined storage, I know! Can you believe it? What? They stacked to 64 now, that's incredible! So iron plates, skystone dust, and the crystals will give us the inscriber calculation press. A diamond gives us the engineering press, a gold ingot for the logic press, then we can smelt down some quartz to get some silicon and oh, that's the wrong type. We actually need to inscribe a Certus crystal to get a Certus quartz dust, which then gets melted into the right silicon, which is what we're going to use to make the silicon press. And now of course we need to make all of the processors. So what I'm going to do now is make a few more inscribers and see how easy it is to automate AE2 after its new update. Please hold. Your horses. So I'm over here setting this stuff up and tidying up and I see something important in the distance. Firstly, the inscribers are in and they are now amazingly easy to automate even with hoppers. I love this change. Power is still an issue, so I've added even more magmators and I've upgraded them to the hardened version, which meant setting up the energizing orb. It is all the default recipes that we've all seen before, so we didn't really need to see it again. But even with more, we are still on the struggle boat with power. We also now have access to a pulverizer, so if we pop in some ore, they'll get pulverized into 2 dust each. Then behind we've got a redstone furnace smelting the dust into ingots for us. It's a super simple and free ore doubling. We now have lots of iron. Iron for days, one might suggest. Oh gosh darn it, I talk too much and now the fella is gone. Sad times. So yeah, I made a manual mob farm trying to get ender pearls, but let's see, why does this spider have particle effects? No extra drops. I have no idea why he was sparkly. Anyways, I did manage to get some ender pearls earlier to make the advanced magnet. I just wanted to share the experience with you. But this magnet is amazing. It'll attract items up to 11 blocks away, which is really nice to have. So we've got the inscribers. And in this barrel, we have got a mix of everything I think we're going to need to do early game applied energistics. Charged crystals, redstone and quartz into a puddle, and we have fluix crystals. Smelting skystone dust gives us skystone, which we smelt again and to get skystone blocks. That's everything to make some ME controllers, and we're also going to need some cable and an ME drive. Let's quickly duplicate our white wool, that way we can upgrade the cables to covered cables, and then upgrade them to smart cables to help me keep track of channels. I have no idea where to build this as everything is temporary right now, as I always like to hobble early game together and then rip it all down and build it back properly. Plus, this is a skyblock, so by Hobble law, this cannot look like a skyblock when we're done. I guess here is fine. We can send the power into the back, we just need a crafting terminal, and for now a storage bus onto our main storage. We now have digital crafting. For now we're going to grab 2 4K storage cells. I'm not too worried about the types and bytes thing because later on we're not going to have to deal with that at all. For now we'll just set the barrel to be the highest priority. Now we're also going to need a pattern terminal. We're going to be using this a lot for this mod pack. But I kinda hate how everything is laid out here, so let me do a quick reorganize and I'll be right with you. That's better. I was getting flashbacks to compact claustrophobia, so I've knocked out another wall to give us more space to work. So our system is here now, and I've run some smart dense cable underground so we can put our inscribers over here. We're also going to set up a small auto crafter using a 4K crafting storage, a crafting co-processing unit, and then another up each. I've moved the magmators outside ready for expansion, and I have quadrupled how much lava we are generating. We won't be using magmators forever as, honestly, they're not that good, but they are working fine for now. Alright, using pattern providers, let me see if I can work out how to automate these inscribers. Since I've always just really used refined storage, I have quite a bit of learning to do. This might work, we just need to pop in the presses. 1 AE2 silicon will give 1 printed silicon, 1 Certus quartz crystal is 1 Certus dust, yada yada, you get the point, okay? This video would be 6 weeks long if I showed you all of the recipe teaching. Let's make it so that I'll only show you the patterns that are tricky to understand, like the summoning altar a lot later. Here's a pro tip for you. Don't forget to actually attach your inscribers to your system. So that is all of the recipes taught, just don't forget to remove the press from the pattern as we're going to be leaving that in the inscriber. By the way, you can get the Certus dust from the auto sieves, so there's no need to do that whole inscriber step. We just need to throw on some storage buses so it's accessible to the system. That was a lot of S's. Oh, and we want to make sure that we set them to extract only. Okay, I feel like I should show you how these pattern providers work real quick, just to cover all of the bases. We can place it onto this redstone furnace and connect it to the system. We can then optionally make it directional using the crescent hammer. We can then set import and export to the top side with auto import and export enabled. We can then tell it if it sends 1 Certus quartz dust to this pattern provider, it'll get 1 silicon in return. That goes into the provider and that's everything done. We can give that a test and the machine should wear to life. Nice. Now of course it is going to need the integral component and 3 flux linkage amplifiers. Power is still an ever-present issue, so I think next we might try and work through some more tiers of the power magmators. However, I spent an uncomfortable amount of time trying to automate the energizing orb using laser IO and AE2 and failed, so it's on to plan B. Maybe we can use modular routers instead. We'll pop a router onto the floor and pop the energizing orb on top. We're going to use a puller Mark 1 module set to pull from the top, so it's essentially a hopper. We'll pop the pattern provider behind the orb. This is where our patterns will go. We'll then shift right click the pattern provider with a sender module Mark 2 and pop that into the router. So any items that end up in this router will get automatically sent back into our system. In the provider, we'll set it to lock the crafting until the item is returned, and the system should now be done. Let's request 100 energized steel. And now this will never overfill the orb because it's locked until the craft is done. Nice. So all that's left for me to do now is work through all of the tiers and try and get some higher level magmators. So I've got a fun hour ahead of me, I think. I'll see you all soon. Hopefully when the power situation is less dire. Well, this wandering fella is selling a beacon. I don't know why I want it, but it feels illegal not to buy it, right? Great Scott, this one is selling an awesome sword. Sharpness 5, capturing 5, and looting 4. Yes, please. So we're now running a few niotic magmators. They need a lot of lava. That's why we now have 16 crucibles now making the orange goop. And even more magmators go onto the pile, though this isn't the perfect power option. Ideally soon we're going to want to make an extreme reactor. For that we're going to need uranium, for which the ore we're going to get from using crushed deep slate on our sieves. Deep slate we can make using the igneous extruder nice and easy. Thankfully we've already got some packed ice and I'm guessing it's from the Head Start quest. So magma on the bottom, packed ice and lava to the sides, and we have deep slate production. Wait a minute, remove the magma block because I think we need the cobble deep slate. So that means that now we need a new hammer and sieve automation. Real quick though, while I remember, do you want early access to new videos before they go live on YouTube, and a fancy Discord rank, and the occasional behind the scenes community post? If so, then please consider becoming a channel member down below. Still feels kinda weird promoting that. Next, my friends, we really need to make a start on setting up a mob farm. And of course, we're gonna overclock it by using the dreadful dirt from mob grinding utils. That though requires us to get 4 buckets of experience. Thankfully though, there's a nice and easy way to get that using an experience crystal from Utility X. That does require a bottle of enchanting though, which can easily be made using Forcecraft. We just need a force rod and any enchanted book. Throwing coal into the millstone will give us the black dye to make the black concrete, and finally the experience crystal. Popping this down, we can store some of our player experience into here, then using a bucket on it to withdraw said experience for the rotten eggs. Cursed GM chicken feed. Now all we need is a chicken. Oh, you legend! Eggs have got an EMC value. Infinite chickens, here we come. Oops, sorry chickie. Would you like some auto-click seeds? Yes, you would. Who's a good chicken? Now we can use the chicken feed, and yeah, we've got a rotten egg. Before we build the farm, we need a way to remove the mobs efficiently. That is where this mob masher enters the chat. Overall, this is going to require a ton of iron swords, so we're just going to teach the recipes. These can go into the pattern provider on the molecular assemblers. I did forget to record making this crafting system here, sorry about that. I do go through it a little bit later though I think, so stay tuned for that. We're also going to want sharpness upgrades and all of the good stuff. Oh bother, they've made looting tricky to get. You need a looting book. I guess we're going looting free at least for now. Lastly, we're going to want some vector plates. This is going to direct our mobs to the masher. And for aesthetics, we're going to want some tinted glass, as later on this will also withstand the torment of a wither. After a little crafting, we've got a basic mob farm shape, with a 5x5 interior of dirt. We've got the mob masher at the front with a block of redstone underneath. Pro tip for you: don't add in any of your upgrades until you're ready to close up the farm. That's how I've actually never had any deaths to this thing in any mod pack. While crouching, we can pop down our vector plates, all heading towards the spinning toothbrush of doom. Skipping the center block so we can apply our rotten egg to convert all of our dirt over to the dark side. Now speedy mode to place down the last plate, and let's escape, install our upgrades and close up the box. And that's a mob farm. We are using an absorption hopper to collect all of the drops and experience for us. All the items will end up in this barrel, and the experience... What are you selling, buddy? Ooh, new pickaxe, yes please. We needed this days ago. Fortune 4 and efficiency 5. Incredible. The farm gives us ability totems. I have no idea how useful those are. But ideally, we probably want to get some void upgrades in here for all of those armor drops, since we are playing on hard. Also, a demagnetization coil will stop our magnet from picking up the junk while we're over here. And that is the hostile mob farm complete. I suppose we could make a similar one for the passive mobs, but I'm not really worried about that, so I'm probably going to skip it this time. Okay, so I did the thing and I finally removed the rest of the cottage and spread things out just a little bit. We've got a nice and open plan area for the mayhem that's going to hit us real soon. I think we're at the midpoint of early game now, so we just need to get down as much automation as we can. That way we can speed towards that island redesign. Over here we've got our newly expanded auto hammer and sieve system. We've got our usual gravel, sand and dust ones, but we've also got one for cobble deep slate, one for netherrack, and now one for blackstone. Behind all of the drops are combined into 2 barrels for now, one for the drops that we're used to seeing, with of course the compacting upgrades, but the new barrel over here has got some goodies. From the blackstone, we are now producing ancient debris. Now you may have noticed it by now, but let me quickly show you how to set up wireless power with the Powah mod. You start with an ender cell, and inside you need to add in some energy cells that act like batteries. We are using 2 niotic energy cells, so we can store 200 million RF and extract a maximum of 100k RF per tick. Once you've got that set up, you can use ender gates to very easily move power around. So much simpler than flux networks. Yeah, that's a lot of ability totems, all of which we do not need. We'll probably end up voiding these off very soon. Alright, so taking a look at the bigger reactors, we now have the uranium from sieving the cobble deep slate. So as is the norm, I've gone ahead and taught the recipes, and we can put in an order for all of the items we're going to need to make a bigger reactor. While we wait, we have these barrels here with all of our old sifting stuff in, that we kinda need them out of the way. If we break them, hundreds of thousands of items would spew out onto the floor. Ouch. So that's where this cardboard box from Mekanism comes in. We can just right click it on the barrel and, oh, I guess we can't use Mekanism. Ah well, I guess we can just pipe the items over instead. I'll sort that out later. So the way this reactor works, I'll build a quick example here with the base of it being reactor casing, inside is a fuel rod, and at the top we'll need a control rod. Then we can build up the reactor corners out of more casing, like so. Then we're going to need 2 access ports, 1 power tap, and 1 reactor terminal. This is the smallest possible reactor. We'll swap one of the access ports over to exporting, which is where we're going to eject the waste. Then we just hopper or pipe in some uranium ingots. Turning this on, we can see that it generates 2,500 RF per tick. That's actually not bad considering how small this is. This niotic magmator only generates 2,000. And when we scale this up, we're going to place the fuel rods in a honeycomb pattern like this. That way we have space between them for coolant blocks like diamond if we choose to use them. Right then, let me go and scale up this reactor so we don't need to cry about lack of power anymore. I'll see you soon. A 9x9x9 with a 5x5 interior. This is brilliant. Ages ago I heard somewhere that leaving a gap around the edges is better for efficiency, but I have no idea where, sorry. Feel free to tag a creator below who might have inspired this. But let's power this fella on and bask in its glorious 200,000 RF per tick. And we're directly pushing it into our ender cell so there is no transfer limit. Now power is no longer an issue for a little while at least. Why don't we dig a tiny bit into some Mekanism? Just for the smelting factory though. So let's speed through some pattern creation real quick, and we're going to need to temporarily set up the infusers again to make all of the alloys and circuits. Yay, Mekanism. Alright, so we've got atomic, reinforced and infused alloy. I really should have just automated these. At least I made the speed and energy upgrade so it didn't take me all week to make them. Now can we request an ultimate smelting factory? We can! Legend, wait for it, dairy, legendary. Pattern provider on top and it is ready for instructions. We'll set input and output to the top and then turn auto eject on. Let's grab our smelting patterns and throw them into this one. I guess for now we can turn auto sort on. We can always turn it off if we have too many patterns processing at the same time. Just gotta remember the ender gates. Nice. Coming up next, we're gonna make a jetpack. We kind of have enough power now to charge it. That's the tier 1 wooden jetpack, but we have got so many resources now it makes sense to try and fully upgrade this. That's a stone jetpack, an iron jetpack, skip a few, and an emerald jetpack. Oh, we can charge this in our advanced energy cube. 48 million FE. Our jetpack is charged. Oh cool, there's a curio slot for it, even better. We now have some vertical movement around a Minecraft world. So we have obsidian. If we make a 2-dimensional rectangular cube and light it on fire, we generate some pretty purple particles perceived to be a portal. Brilliant. Pretty empty here, but if we press N to check the map, we can see that to the south we have a nether fortress. Okay, so after tidying up a little more at home, I don't really want to spend a ton of time in the nether, so before we head to the fortress we should dive a little into hostile neural networks. Firstly, over at our ores we now have some auto smelting going on, and it's said to do all of the ores that we have. But they all import over to these storage drawers with a diamond upgrade in them. More applied Energistics recipes have been taught, specifically the 256k crafting storages so we could have even more auto crafting computers so we can craft more at the same time. The more CPUs available, the better. So HNN, let's craft up a deep learner and some model frameworks. We'll also need some waystones, one for home called Island because naming things literally is the best I can do. Ooh, we just passed 100 days. Too bad that is the wrong video format. It is time to fly into the blue in search of something red. Not gonna lie, jetpack's kind of overpowered. Waystone down, and now using our model frameworks, we can right click on some of the mobs here to make a data model of that mob. With a skeleton, blaze, and a zombified pigling I guess for now. Ooh, a chest. Nothing too interesting though. Oh, I should have brought a separate backpack for all of the loot. Oh well. Right then, let's pop these models into our deep learner, pop the learner into the offhand so we can see the GUI, and now we need to remove 6 of each of the mobs to train the models. That's the wither skeleton done, and yes, I'm on fire. Don't worry about that. Zombified piglin done, and finally blaze done. Now if we make a simulation chamber, we can start to generate some predictions of these mobs. We're going to need some prediction matrix, and using 768 FE per tick for the wither skeletons, it's going to cycle through removing that mob. Think of it as using a bow. Accuracy starts off terrible at like 12%, but each cycle you get more accurate and can eventually one-hit them. We have loads of power, so we can pop down some more for the other data models. But eventually we will get mob predictions, which we can pop into the loot fabricator and choose which mob drop we want to print. Some wither skulls, please. The blaze prediction is where we'll get blaze rods or molten cores. Not sure how useful they are just yet. Oh dear, there's quite a lot of data models to grab for the quests. I kinda hope that you don't want me to go for 100% completion when I eventually do that poll. I've got an idea, could be great, could be kooky. Let's see if it works or if it turns out quite loopy. We've got a box full of tricks. We'll build up some soul sand. Oh, what a mix. Pop on some wither skulls, 1, 2, and 3. Wait for the wither. Oh, what fun it will be. It'll go boom with a blast. Oh, what a sight. We will use a model framework, train it just right. We will then tap with our swords. Oh, tap, tap, tap. And soon there'll be 5 withers left for a nap. But first, it is time for the backpack auto-feeding upgrade. Set steak as a filter and we no longer need to eat. The backpack will now auto-feed us, so that means that the next 5 withers should be easy. There we go, all 6 withers removed, and we've got a data model now that we can simulate the drops for. Infinite nether stars, anyone? So what say that we dig a little into some mystical agriculture. We'll need 1 infusion altar and 8 infusion pedestals. Altar goes down and it'll show us where to install the pedestals. Then just a lever next to the altar. We'll start with 4 inferium essence and 4 dirt. Prosperity seed base into the center, and that'll craft us up a dirt seed. I've also made an inferium seed so we can make up some bonus inferium essence. Planting it in the world and doing a little twerk while holding right click, it can be super quick. Swapping over the dirt seeds, we can get a bunch of dirt essence which crafts into a ton of dirt. Very handy for what I'm planning on doing soon. Doing it manually sucks though, so I think we're going to need some phytogenic insulators. A little water for our test, we can throw in our seed, and currently this is unacceptably slow. Oh, and we need to find a way to cycle the seed back into the main slot. So I think I'll have a break in a moment and try and work that out. Now then, another thing that I have been working on is this clipboard. Inside, I have put together a checklist of everything our new base is going to need. I'm starting to brew up some ideas of a design that we can use, and of course it's not going to look like a skyblock by the end of the mod pack. But for example, we're going to need an area for our bigger reactor, we'll need somewhere for an AE2 system and all of its associated auto crafting. The list quite literally goes on. So let's bookmark some tier 1 seeds that we're going to need to craft up. We'll need stone seed, wood, ice, deep slate, and I think that's tier 1 sorted. Tier 2, we're going to need nature, dye seeds, nether seeds, and coal. Basically, we're going to craft up every craftable seed that doesn't require us to sacrifice any mobs. Yeah, this is going to take a minute. Can I interest you in a cup of tea while you wait? No? Okay, well, you know where the kettle is if you change your mind. Well, I just found something awesome. Yes, I know it's raining, I'm sorry. This here is basically a refined storage disk for AE2. No types, only bytes. And it's incredibly easy to make. We can also craft up a wireless crafting terminal and a wireless access point. And once authorized, we can now access the system wirelessly. Amazing invention. Oh my goodness, AE2 can now auto-craft essences. That's honestly quite incredible. Well, that escalated quickly. Something like this will do until the big base redesign. So take these signalum seeds for example. The seed and essences are being output into a 1x2 drawer above. That drawer is connected to a controller, so we have access in our system to all of the drops. Functional storage did have an update recently where you can install range upgrades to increase its reach. Very handy. This was needed though because by default it didn't actually reach the end of our drawers. A very nice update indeed. So the water is being supplied by this sink here, which is an infinite water source. And since we have netherite now, we are using the ultimate pipe upgrades. In here we have got all of the currently craftable seeds, they just kinda need to now go into the insulators. The best part is though that we don't need to use these cruxes for the higher tier seeds because we are using the insulators. However, if we were to build this in world, we would need to place these under the farmland. It gets kind of expensive. But please remember the intro and be kind. We are in the ugly stage, but we need to get through this in order to start making it look pretty. But the reason that I hit record is I noticed something over in this mob farm that is actually quite insane. Of course, we've got all of the junk ability totems, but there is a hidden gem. Flight 1. If we apply this and double jump, my goodness, we've got creative flight. This feels incredibly cheaty, but it's going to be invaluable in everything that we're going to do moving forward. So if you are playing this mod pack too, make sure that you've got yourself a mob farm running so you can get yourself one of these. And no fall damage. Brilliant. There's one! Let me know in the comments what the heck these creatures are even for. They bleep when you walk over them, but I have no idea what that does. I feel like a Pac-Man. But at the moment, I am trying to set up the automation for these integral components, as we're going to need so many of them. But they're kind of expensive, and later on we're going to want these super high level ones from thermal energy. Plus it's the same for the flux linkage amplifiers, it is going to be a grind for sure. But lastly, the idea is that if we set the input and output to the draw, we don't need to use that cyclical augment. Though eventually we are going to want to send Phyto Grow to the insulators for even more production. But let me get these last few seeds in here and I'll see you soon. Yeesh, that took a while to craft, but all of the machines are now up and running. Given how many resources we need going forward, I kinda think that Phyto Grow is going to be needed. That means that we now need to rotate every machine 90 degrees since we can't really do anything with the front of these machines. Then we can pop down some item pipes that are going to deliver the grow. On one machine, we'll set the input to be on the right, then using a red print, we can copy those settings and paste them to every other machine. We can place down a drawer and route a cable to it for our grow to export into. We'll export the Phyto Grow and throw in a crafting card and some acceleration cards. Set the pipe to extract and throw in a pipe upgrade. Now over here, I've upgraded to extended pattern providers because they've got a lot more pattern space inside. We're also going to swap over to the extended molecular assemblers since this can do 8 crafts at a time, but we can if we've got enough co-processing units. Alright, I think we're at the point where we can probably turn off this mob farm. We have filled this fluid storage drawer with XP. 4,600 buckets of it. I think the only reason to keep it around is if we want to make the data models, but honestly I think we have enough drops to last a long time. So who's hungry for some adventure? Using some bizarre cake ingredients we can make up an end cake. Oh, and if you're curious, glowstone on a barrel of lava will give you the end stone. That end stone is how you're going to get your chorus fruit and flowers, mostly for the end agglomeratio. So let's pop this cake down and oh, someone's already eaten most of it. Rude. With data models in hand, let's munch the cake to enter the end. Cheeky waystone so we don't need the cake anymore. First we can train a data model on an enderman and remove a few real quick. That is a very handy one to have. We can grab some dragon's breath and then ignoring Milady Dragon for now, we're going to head off into the void and find a city at the end of the world. Yeah, creative flight is so broken. I'm just going to sit back, relax, and hold W. Let's grab that shulker model and then remove at least 6 of these fellas to make it function. Nice. Now, since we're here, it would be rude to not look around for some loot. Ooh, this could be useful loot. This item is currently only used to get mob heads. No idea if we need that or not. Occasionally, I am a loot goblin. Ooh, free backpack. I take that as a sign that I must now explore to get even more free stuff. Loot capacitors, we need those. Starbunkle tokens. Ours loot could be very useful later on. Why are you shiny, Madame Earbob? Mythic Apothic Boss. I guess it would be rude to not see what loot you have. Earbob's Iron Forged Diamond Crown of Health. Okay, cool I guess? Okay, I'm addicted to loot goblin mode. I'ma search for some more end cities and I'll see you back at home. Now legend has it is there is a small chance to find a smithing template in one of these chests, so I think it's worth the wrath of the pigling brutes to go and take a look. And I'm already on fire. Great. Nope, 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 nope. Maybe? Yes, we got it! That's great because now we don't need to summon a possessed hoglin. Yay! Let's go home. That's how I've actually never had any deaths to this thing in any mod pack. So I don't want to talk about why my player head is here. I just want to mention that you can definitely fly through vector plates from underneath. Just don't ask me how I know, okay? It is totally unrelated to my player head. Moving on, there was a pack update between clips, so now we have a questline for Forcecraft and Zycraft. Zycraft really doesn't seem that useful, so I'm hoping to kind of be proven wrong there. Anyway, let's add a Dark Nether Star to the summoning altar, along with 2 Blaze Rods, a Dragon's Breath, oh, and we're missing Mana Steel. Let's speedrun this. Floral Fertilizer to get a bunch of flowers for petals, Petal Apothecary, water, 4 white petals, and a seed for a pure daisy. Surround with logs to get living wood, second daisy to speed this up, surround with stone to make living rock, 1 mana spreader, 1 mana pool, boom, boom, water, 2 brown, 1 light grey, 1 red, plus a seed gives us an endo flame. Feed it blaze rods and it'll produce mana. Sometime later we have 2 mana steel. Add them to the summoning altar to finish it off with a TNT, and we get ourselves a philosopher's stone. We'll turn that one into a transmutation table, and then into a tablet. In here we can dump anything with an EMC value and then print other items that we've dumped, like all of these Zycraft gems. We don't really have any use for them other than EMC. It's like the alchemical chest, but it's instant and portable. So this is where we're up to. A functional but unappealing island not really suitable for YouTube thumbnails. I spent some time and I've put together something a little bit different. This is the start of our mega factory. A cliche granite and brick palette. We should hopefully now have enough space to finish this mod pack in style. Taking a look inside, we have got a much darker atmosphere. And I've done a little bit of preliminary labeling for some of the rooms to try and work out what is going to go in them. Pretty much everything is ticked off of the list. Down here we have got a large room reserved for Mekanism, as that is the mod that really needs room to scale up. Heading up the stairs, we have got a large room here for something, but if we shimmy along this edge, we have got the heart of the factory, the applied Energistics controllers. The best part is we are going to have 0 cables coming off of this thing. More on that soon. But across the hall, we have got what I'm actually quite proud of, and that is a massive greenhouse inside the factory, ready for all of the work that we're going to be doing with productive bees. I love this room, and it is not at all what you would expect in a factory. And I did make a start on getting some vanilla bees, using saplings next to some flowers and having a small chance to spawn a hive. Underneath we have got some hive hoppers from Thermal, which harvests all of the honey for us. We can just use some bottles on it then to pull out the honey. One interesting discovery was this applied Mekanistics mod. That's going to allow us to move chemicals around with AE2. Which seems incredibly useful. Now we still have our little starter island, and at some point I will get everything moved over. Now the way that we're going to avoid using cables is with wireless connectors. I just kind of need to learn how to use them. Thankfully now there is a built-in guide that comes with AE2 and some of the add-ons. So if we put one on our controller, right click it with a setup kit to store the coordinates, then a second controller we can paste that and it is now connected to the AE2 network. That's kind of awesome. We should be able to pull 32 channels off of every face of this controller and send it everywhere. No cables needed. I love this because now channels are essentially non-existent for us. Need more channels? Add another connector. So I think I'm going to go and move those insulators over to the new factory. I'll see you in a little bit. Shaders are on again, so I must have something pretty to show you. Behind this door? Yeah, it's pretty. Over here on the left, we have got all of our phytogenic insulators, and I've added even more of them because we need to double a few up in order to get more seeds. Turning around, this is why the shaders are on. I have moved over all of the applied energistics bits over to the factory. We've got the crafting terminal, pattern terminal, and newly we now have a pattern access terminal. In there, we can access every single pattern provider and add or remove patterns from them without physically moving our butts. In here, this might look a little familiar to you. That's because I followed the AE guide on setting up a main network. There is a section for auto crafters and a section for crafting units. The only difference is that we are using the extended versions of everything, including extended inscribers. Just remember to put a press in all 4 jobs that the inscriber can do. Extended storage drives. We have got one full of item storage, which is easy to make when you've got infinite resources. Plus these ones have no types or bytes, so it's even easier. In the center we have our fluid storage cells, an infinite water cell, and an infinite cobblestone cell. This infinite cobble one is far too cheap for how overpowered it is. Then on the right we have got the chemical storage cells, though I'm not exactly sure how these work just yet. But then finally over here we've got all of our wireless connectors and the drawer controller for all of our drawers. Back to the old island, you can see that we are slowly cleaning up and moving over. And I think once we're done, this whole island is going to become a bigger reactor for infinite power. Now in terms of moving all of these drawers over, I've made a little import system here to quickly pull all of the items out into the new drawers. Now one thing that's going to save me time going back and forth is going to be this warp plate. We just take the magic flint over to the new island, where we're going to trade it with another magic flint. We can step on this to teleport back to the old island and vice versa. Just don't forget to swap the magic flint. Now as much as I love talking to you, I really better get back to some work. So here is a very nice fading transition to let you know that a new clip is coming. Ooh, look at that fade in. Very nice. It is time to grab all of our old storage disks and drop them into the I/O port on the new system. This is going to empty out these cells and import them over to our new ones. We can hook up our wireless crafting remote to the new system, which always feels nice to do. And now the fun of moving all of these patterns. Oh joy. Maybe if we just break them, we can just throw them into a spare backpack to transport over. Then we dump it into the new providers. Fun. Now I'm not entirely sure why I'm showing you this. A ton of work goes on behind the scenes, so I guess it's kind of like a peek behind the curtain. Let's move on. Well, I don't think power now is going to be an issue until the SPS. We are now using the whole island to hold our bigger reactor. This naughty fella can produce over 2 million RF per tick. Around the back, we are using logic to turn it on and off to conserve fuel. I was going to make this taller, but this uses an unhealthy amount of diamond blocks. So, let's progress and try and figure out this summoning altar automation. Provide it on top, and I think we will make it directional. On top, we'll try an item collector set to whitelist, as the items do drop in world once the summon is finished. For now, let's teach the Philosopher's Stone recipe, and we need to make sure that we move the catalyst to the last crafting slot as items are inserted in order of appearance. The only thing we don't have automation for is the mana steel, however it looks like there is a seed for it. Nice! So let's lock the crafter until the result is returned and send through a test. It works, though it didn't register as complete. Weird. Not important though, as we don't really need many of these stones. The test was to see if it was possible to automate dark matter, which we should be able to do now. The all-the-modium is made in an energizing orb with refined glowstone, flux-infused ingots, energetic alloy ingots, diorite ingots, soul-infused ingots, and a nitro crystal. We already know how to make 3 out of 6. So diorite ingots seem reasonable. We are just missing the Mundabadar dust and the arcane crystal dust. We get the arcane crystals from our sieves and we just smelt it into the dust. The only expensive part of the Mundabadar dust is the phantom membrane. Membrane in the filter slot, gems as payment, lots of phantom membrane. Heck, we can even throw down some energy collectors touching the chest and forgo the payment completely. And just like that, we can auto craft diorite ingots. Now if we get 4 fluxed infused ingots, we can make a seed. When it's just gold dust and redstone to make the dust, and we smelt it into ingots. That is unexpectedly easy. And that's the seed. Alright, Ender IO. A cool mod, but a little bit grindy. We can craft up a primitive alloy smelter. You can go here with a pattern provider on top. Never mind, there's no IO config. That sucks. So let's throw in some iron, obsidian, and coal dust to make dark steel. Ooh, that is slow. Let's use the time in a bottle that I forgot to tell you that I made to speed it up. That dark steel we're going to use to make an alloy smelter. And yes, this one has an IO config. Loop capacitor goes in on the left. Smelting mode is alloy only. And awkwardly, let's try and set the top to in and out. Send the request for some energetic alloy. Remember, it needs power and we have some automation. So can we request an all-the-modium ingot? We can, and it is instantly done. Incredible. Can we request 100? Looks like that is another big yes. Awesome. What about the Aeternalis fuel blocks? Oh my goodness, AE2, you legend. You can now craft with the Philosopher's Stone. Look, we can even see it in there. That is so fun. So all we are missing now for dark matter is the sky steel ingots. We can make it by throwing some things into lava. I think there was an AE2 guide for throwing things into water, so we might be able to adapt it for this. This one here. There's a lot of parts to this, but I'm thinking if we swap the water for lava, it should really work the same. The most important part to remember is this facade in the center, as this is going to stop the dropped items from escaping, and this is what it looks like in person. I quite literally just followed the guide, as this uses subnets and I've not really learned how to use them yet. But now we can request sky steel. Now there's one thing worth noting is, you definitely want to say craft only one and lock. Otherwise, if you accidentally request 1000 sky steel, it's gonna drop 3000 items in world. But now we should be able to request a dark matter, and there it is. Added to the whitelist, and I think that's automated dark matter. And with some editing magic, we now have hostile neural network set up. With that, I think we are pretty much where we left off with progression. Yay! We're further actually, because over here we are exporting as much cobblestone as possible to this matter condenser. This is making as many singularities as possible. That's because they take quite a long time and I don't really want to hang around for them later. But now let me do a quick rant at how dumb my brain is being. Over here I am trying to set up the auto crafting for all of the Klein stars. It's working for making the Aeternalis fuel, but there's some weird NBT issues that prevents it from being used to make the stars. So I'm not really sure how we're going to make all of the Omega stars just yet. I guess that's a problem for future Hobble. Mekanism. I did the thing where we automate the production of the alloys, including enriching. It's a necessary evil. I also learned that all of the Ender IO ingots have a seed. Quest claim time. I do keep forgetting. Nothing of much interest? Maybe one day. Searching at Mekanism, we can see that I taught the recipes for everything that we are going to need to make fissile fuel. Maybe it is time to dive into it. I mean the mod, not the fuel. That would be bad. We need a rotary condensator, chemical dissolution chamber, electrolytic separator, chemical oxidizer, pressure reaction chamber, chemical injection chamber, a purification chamber, and a chemical infuser. We're going to need more than one of each, but this will do for now. That unlocks the advanced mechanism chapter that's going to walk us through making antimatter, which we need quite a bit for the Ultimod star. We are going to need a fission reactor, and we are going to be going for the maximum size, which is an 18 by 18 by 18. Speed is going to be everything. Oh, that's fun. They made a create ponder scene to teach the newer folk how to build the reactor. That is super cute, and it makes it more accessible to players. Well done to the All the Mods team for this. This is actually a great idea. So I guess it's time to build the fission reactor. Even though we don't have the fuel just yet, it's fun to do things in a different order sometimes. Dum. Up we go. Building gadget for the win. Honeycomb time with the fuel assembly. Builders want to make this acceptable to do. Control rod assemblies into the offhand, and the one can place those too. 2000 reactor glass please system. This pattern is messing with my eyes. It looks super weird. Glass time. Red particles, legally this is a fission reactor. So let me go hobble some fuel together real quick and I will be right back. Okay, normally I really dislike explaining Mekanism, but this time I'm gonna break my rules as we're gonna be trying to use AE2 to do it instead. We'll start with a chemical oxidizer which will turn sulfur into sulfur dioxide. Can't believe I'm doing this. Quick test and it'll make a bunch of noise and the dioxide goes back into the system, into our chemical storage cell. Awesome. Chemical infuser next. That'll combine oxygen with sulfur dioxide to make sulfur trioxide. We'll pop an electrolytic separator over here. That turns water into hydrogen and oxygen. They can export into chemical tanks with access for the system. Mute time. Another chemical infuser, this time combining sulfur trioxide with water vapor to make sulfuric acid. And give it a red nose. Next we need a rotary condensator in decondensating mode. That turns water into water vapor. Can we request a sulfuric acid? We can. This is so bizarre. Chemical dissolution chamber next, combining sulfuric acid with fluoride to make our hydrofluoric acid. Using blocks might be a bad idea, but we can change it later. Enriching factory next, turning 1 uranium ingot into 2 yellow cake uranium. Next, a chemical oxidizer turning the yellow cake into uranium oxide, and yet another chemical infuser, this time turning hydrofluoric acid and uranium oxide into uranium hexafluoride. And it actually works. Madness, I tell you. We've just automated uranium hexafluoride in such a tiny footprint. Is it scalable? Not at all. Does it need to be? Kind of. But this clip showed the crafting chain, which is more than I usually include, and it is very cute. All that would be left to do is to pipe it into an isotopic centrifuge, make a request, and it actually works. This is so foreign to me, but I love it. It's so small. But sadly, we need something that scales. So let me hobble together something and I will show you around. So this is version 1 that we built together. Opposite, we have version 2. This is essentially the exact same system, except now we're using exporters instead of pattern providers. This is slightly more scalable, but still not enough. So behind me, we have version 3. The ultimate design in scalability. This is more of what I have in mind when I think of fissile fuel automation. We have got 18 chemical oxidizers, all turning sulfur into sulfur dioxide. They all pump into a buffer tank, go through the motions and end up as hydrofluoric acid. In the next row, this is where the problems start. We need yellow cake uranium in order to make our uranium oxide. That's made from uranium in smelting factories, and sadly, I've had to turn it off. The problem is that we are not producing anywhere near enough uranium essence from all of the insulators for this to run. What that means for us is that we can't really run this full time until we get a lot more phytogenic insulators down, making that uranium essence. And it's the same for the sulfur too. We are using more than we're making. We just need more of everything. With what we had in the system though, we have 8 million millibuckets of uranium hexafluoride already made, which is then being actively turned into fissile fuel. That's being sent around to the reactor and it's filling up quite nicely. Water is always annoying. I am trying out using sinks and Mekanism pipes, but this isn't sustainably scalable because you are limited by each pipe extraction point. 32 buckets per tick per connection. Not ideal. Quick side tangent, we are now using the shellite flux upgrades and stellar integral components to speed up our seed growing. It's great, but there are still more tiers to work through. But now let me hobble together some more phytogens so we can properly start generating some fissile fuel. This worked perfectly. We are using the same pipe to feed the phyto grow for both rows, so we were able to keep it compact. We've now got around 30 making uranium essence and around 20 over this side making sulfur essence. We're also growing potatoes, so that's going to need a void upgrade. We need those potatoes for HDPE sheets. The potatoes are crushed into biofuel, which mixes with water and hydrogen to make substrate and ethylene. Ethylene is concentrated into liquid ethylene, which combines with oxygen and substrate to make HDPE pellets. Those pellets are then enriched into HDPE sheets. That means that we can now make the solar neutron activator. Now we need to move the nuclear waste, which traditionally is difficult and dangerous. Not anymore though, since we can use AE2 and the chemical cells. We just import it to the system and export it to where it needs to go, though it doesn't let us store it in the disks. We've got some coming over to this isotopic centrifuge to make plutonium, and the second lot need to go into this solar neutron activator to make polonium. We're gonna need a lot of polonium. But now we risk everything to see how high we can get the burn rate to be. One false move and the reactor could explode, irradiating our world for a very long time. We have 60 million millibuckets of fissile fuel currently, so our bottleneck will be how fast we can insert water. So let me rip out version 2 of fissile fuel and see about setting up that polonium processing. Into the top of a PRC we need to export the fluorite dust, and then we'll send polonium into the bottom. This will turn 1 bucket of polonium into 1 polonium pellet and 1 bucket of spent nuclear waste. Then it's identical for plutonium, except it's fluorite dust. No, water is dipping. Looks like 100 millibuckets per tick is too much of a burn rate. We either need more water or a lower number. We are up to 250 millibucket burn rate. No why am I lowering the number? Instead now we have a silly Mekanism dynamic tank with hundreds of thousands of valves. Now the way that we keep it infinite water in here is just using the Evertight amulet from Project E. Just make sure that you toggle this to empty. It feels like there should be a better way, but I can't seem to work it out at the moment. But essentially I need to now babysit this reactor as there is no way I am risking a meltdown. We are trying to get enough materials to make the SPS, also known as the Powah voider. We need 60 casing, so that's around 150 more polonium pellets and 30 or so plutonium. I guess we could try and add more input ports for the water, see if that helps. 400 millibucket burn rate. It did help. I guess it is movie time while I stare at the fuel and water levels, ready to scram since there is no way we're making 400 millibuckets of fuel per tick, so we will run out. Alright, we have got the SPS casing. Let's build. The way this works is, we start with our structural glass, we build 3, 3, 3, not you, and 3. Then we fill that in. Surround it with SPS casing, and this is 1 out of 6 sides done. On top of the SPS casing, we need to do the exact same pattern, but this time, it's vertical. Casing around that again, and we rinse and repeat for all of the other sides. The red particles mean that we win. In the centers, we'll pop in some SPS ports and pop on some supercharged coils. Nitro gates are limited to 1 million RF per tick, which is actually good because we don't want all of our power going here just yet. We'll pop down an export bus, and this is where we're going to be sending our polonium. And at this point, we can probably turn off the creation of polonium and plutonium pellets. And it works. Ooh, that is loud. Not anymore. We can now turn 1000 millibuckets of polonium into 1 millibucket of antimatter. Yay, Mekanism. Plus, it absolutely gobbles power, so I'm not excited for just how many antimatter pellets we're going to need. In my opinion, this is a pretty big time sink and wholly unnecessary. 1 compressed obsidian, filler block, obsidian, break filler, throw redstone between the obsidian, and punch the top obsidian. Flux dust, yay! Flux controller, flux plug, and some flux points. We can pop the plug onto our ender cell, create a new network and connect to it. Then literally anywhere we're going to pop down the controller for one reason only. Under wireless charging we are going to click enable, selecting all available slots and hit apply. Now we never ever have to recharge our crafting terminal since we now have wireless charging. Brilliant. We can also pop down flux points wherever we need power, much like the gates, but there's no transfer limit. My reactor keeps turning off and I have no idea why. I have removed all of the logic stuff so it should stay on. So frustrating. We literally have unlimited fuel at the moment too. We also have a ton of diamonds now, so maybe we can make this larger for faster antimatter. We're up to 109 millibuckets of antimatter, but I swear I am going to run out of movies at this speed. Do you want to walk around this world for yourself? Well, if this video gets 30,000 likes, I will pay for Discord Nitro and share a world download for this world. Project Sacrifice got 28,000 likes, so I think that's a reasonable target. Productive bees. I think it is time for some more grind. Welcome to Productive Bees. Let's have a quick chat before continuing. Sadly, this video is not going to be a tutorial for Productive Bees. That is because it is such a massive mod with a bunch of moving parts. Instead, I'm just going to share with you some tips and tricks for what I think is the most important parts in order to get through it. To start getting modded bees, we can place down a dirt nest and use a honey treat on it to start the countdown. You can use additional treats to bring the timer down. This time we got a chocolate mining bee. Yummy. That's the mechanic we're going to be using to breed up an iron bee. We need a crystalline bee and an ashy mining bee. To get the crystalline bee, we need to feed a nether quartz to a quartz hive in a nether fortress. Hello, my friend. This ashy mining bee has a chance of spawning from dirt, sand or gravel nests. Hello, buddy. Now if we pop these two into a breeder and then add and remove them until it shows an iron bee, and after adding in some speed upgrades we can give them some flowers and they will breed up a baby iron bee. He can then go into a baby incubator with 20 honey treats to very quickly grow into a grown-up bee. You could also do this in world, but it's better to get into the habit of using this now, especially since some bees teleport. Outside of our advanced beehives we can pop down a feeding slab. Then we just need to pop in a simulation upgrade. This means the bees will never leave the hive, only pretend to. The most important bee that we need right now is the draconic bee from the end. This bee will allow you to make productivity upgrades, so get lots of them. Make sure to supply bottles to your hives because if it does fill up with honey, it is going to stop working. What's crazy is that I chose to do advanced mechanism before doing this. Not because it's a bad mod, it's an epic mod. But we already have infinite resources, so it kind of seems a bit pointless. So we need a very high productivity gene. Let me show you how to get one. If we equip a bee nest helmet, which is very cheap, whenever we take damage from a mob, we have a very small chance of spawning a kamikaze bee. They are so tiny, so turning on hitboxes helps. Checking out the stats, we can see that the productivity is very high. This is the only way to get this stat. Over here we have a piston facing down above a bottler. Make sure it does have bottles in. We'll pop our bee in and close this trapdoor, pulling the lever, and something happens and we are gifted a BNA. I'm sad that it's actually not called a BNA, but this goes into a power centrifuge to separate it into its gene types. 24%. That sucks. We need 100% to apply this to a bee. Thankfully, if we throw it into a gene indexer with other very high samples, they'll combine to make a higher percentage sample. And much like Blue Peter, here's one I made earlier. The next gene is metaternal, which means the bees won't sleep. That is why outside we have some bees tied up to fence posts. We need to force them to stay awake for a few days and nights in order to adapt that gene trait. Now, fishing is very slow, but eventually a water bee will spawn and it has a weather tolerance of any, which is another gene trait we're going to need for our omega bee. Thankfully though, water bees can breed together to make more water bees, so there's not really that much fishing needed. And for your inspiration, this is the setup that I am using for my bees. This is completely tileable and it uses AE2 subnets to help with those channels. Each tile has 4 advanced hives all facing towards a feeding slab in the center. I am using item pipes to feed all of the bottles, and on the inside we have got the 4 importers. This whole system only uses 4 channels, which is great. At the moment they have got vanilla bees inside. That's because early game productive bees you need insane quantities of honey and honeycomb. I've got a smaller test tile over here for those draconic bees I mentioned. Now for the omega bee. Not only do we have one set of perfect traits, but we also have a second set so we can make up 2 omega bees. If we combine all 5 traits with a honey treat, we will get a very potent treat indeed. Strong endurance, very high productivity, temper normal, behavior metaternal, weather tolerance any. That'll go in the bottom slot of our baby incubator. In the left slot we'll put in one of our draconic bees. That'll do its job, and now we have an omega draconic bee. Then if we make a second one, we can breed them together to get infinite omega bees. The bestest part is, we can squish these bees down to get the omega DNA back, so we don't need to do the whole water and maternal junk ever again. I am a fool. There's honey, of course there's honey seeds, there is honey seeds, and they are very cheap to make. 4 honey agglomeratio and 4 prudentium essence. I am so annoyed at myself that I spent the best part of the day waiting for honey. Oh, and guess what? My quests keep breaking. We now somehow have 2 productive bee chapters, and there's no way that I'm going through this twice. Also, all of the observation quests don't complete at all. But there we go, honey essence. What? 3 essence for 6 combs, that is so much comb. And 1 for a bottle of honey. Whoopsies. But behind this wall, I am hoping for a nice surprise. In the abandoned beehive hidden in the dark, we have got a skeletal bee. In order to get this out nice and easy, we're just going to use a simulation upgrade so we can throw in a bee cage. What we're aiming for is the Olmogian bee vibranium bee, and an unobtainium bee. All the modium needs an ancient bee and a withered bee. If we use a wither rose on a skeletal bee, we will get a withered bee. To get the ancient bee, we need to feed a block of netherite to a diamond bee. To get the diamond bee, we just breed an ender bee, which we can just grab from the end, with a lapis bee. To get the lapis bee, we breed the redstone bee with a blue banded bee. The blue banded bee comes from a log nest with honey treats. The redstone bee comes from a glowstone bee and a chocolate mining bee, which we have. The glowing bee can be spawned from a glowstone nest. And that's the ancient bee done. That was a lot of effort. Here is all of the footage condensed down into the length of this sentence. Finally, we can breed up all the modium bees. We just need to give it omega stats. Now, if we breed an ancient bee with a draconic bee, we will get the vibranium bee. Job done, and it already has omega stats, and that's because the parent bees also had omega stats. I love that. His food block, though, is a vibranium block, so it looks like we have another summoning ritual to do. Well, 3 rituals just to get the 9 ingots that we need. At least the All-the-Modium bee is reasonable since we already have enough to make a block. So 4 blocks of Insanium Essence and 4 All-the-Modium blocks. That's going to give us an All-the-Modium seed, making our new bee absolutely pointless. It's 8 essence for a nugget and 9 nuggets for an ingot, but look how fast this thing is coming in already. We would need so many bees to keep up with this, since the comb only gives us a 10% chance of getting 1 or 2 nuggets. That is not a good deal. Tiny potato dance, dance, dance. Happy little potato dance. Moving on, we can buy Ars Nouveau saplings from the market. We can grow each of them to harvest their wood types. We can then make up an imbuement chamber and for the quests a novice spellbook. In the chamber we're going to pop in an amethyst shard and after a little bit of time we'll get a source gem. Yeah, I added more because they're unbearably slow. I think we're going to want to automate this. Let me hobble some things together real quick. I might have gotten carried away, but it's fine. Here we are instead turning lapis into source gems, quite literally just using item pipes. Ugly, but efficient. Like me. Diving a little deeper into ours, we are using the volcanic source link to generate source. Throw on some blaze rods, it generates source. In the center we have our imbuement chamber, and it's surrounded by 3 arcane pedestals. The way this works is if we pop a source gem into the chamber, this one's gonna make up fire essence. You can do it without source, but it's just unbearably slow. So far we have earth, fire, and water. The last one is air, and we need a Wilden wing. I haven't seen any Wilden spawn at all, so we're gonna have to do this a different way using this tablet of summon Wilden. Pop that into a ritual brazier, and it's gonna forcibly spawn a few Wilden mobs. 6 wings and a few other bits. The wing can go in here and that is our air essence done. Now we need a blood altar. We can use this sacrificial poker to start filling it up. Mom! Well, goodbye 175 levels. Let's pretend that never happened, okay? Anyway, let's pop a bucket into the blood altar to get a bucket of life essence. We need to do that 3 times in total. I think that's everything, so let's teach the summoning recipe, making sure to move the All-the-Modium to the final slot. Pop that into the pattern provider, and can we request some vibranium? We can! It's gonna take a minute to craft up all of that Insanium essence. Ding! 3 vibranium ingots. Nice. Just gotta do that 2 more times and we have food for our vibranium bee. That goes in here and we can tee up the bottom of the beehive block to make it super fast. And there's the vibranium nuggets. Nice. If we grab 4 vibranium blocks and request another 4 insanium blocks, we'll be able to make the seed and make these bees pointless too. It baffles me why mystical agriculture and productive bees are in this pack. I'm guessing they have plans for the bees in a future update. While we wait for that, let's do a little bit of Ender IO crafting. We'll craft up a slice and spice and pop it down there for now and throw in a loot capacitor. It's also going to need an axe and some shears. Again, we're going to pop down a pattern provider and set the IO to the left side. And we can teach it how to make the Z-Logic controller. That works, just make sure that it does use a zombie head. But we can use it to make a soul binder, which also needs a loot capacitor. Now we need a filled soul jar with shulkers inside. So let's grab some empty soul jars and see about catching a few shulkers. Hey buddy, thank you very much. Got it, 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 Got it. Home. Next we can grab some of the experience we saved from the mob farm, pop it into the tank and export it into the soul binder. Then we can combine our shulker bottle with a vibranium crystal to get a prescient crystal, which we'll need 3 of them to make unobtainium ingots. So I need to make a lot more of these crystals. Please hold. There we go, we have got some bees bringing in some unobtainium, and once we have 4 blocks, we can make the seed. Now I went ahead and finally upgraded to the Omega Productivity upgrade, which are incredibly expensive. They need 4 Hearts of the Sea, and the only way that I can think of getting one was from the Essence. Diamond Essence, easy. Prismarine Essence, easy. Squid Essence, annoying. I just used the Soul Extractor to get the Squid Seed. You just put in the Solium jar and the ink sacs, which do have an EMC value, but where do we get the first ink sac from? Well, that is where this island comes in over here. This is made from the Ars Tablet of Concha Island. Let me show you how to do it. Out here we have a ritual brazier. If we pop down a full source jar and we use a tablet on it, it's going to automatically build an island for you. Look mum, I'm doing a time lapse. It is so cool to watch, and I think this is probably how I'm going to build up the landscape around the factory. Ta-da! We have a village with villagers, and with a crouch right click we can pick these fellas up for use in a moment. The reactor has turned itself off again. Please let me know in the comments what I am doing wrong with this. So let's craft up a breeder, as if we already haven't done enough of that. Also an incubator, as if we haven't already done enough. In the breeder we will pop in our 2 friends and give them some food. We can then extract the baby villagers into the incubator, and once grown we'll head into the barrel. We can then grab a trader, pop down our wizard villager and give him his work block. And now we can trade much easier. This wizard is going to sell us all sorts of tablets and charms from Ars Nouveau. I genuinely forgot immersive engineering was in this pack. The most important step is to mute the villagers. No more for me. Okay, I need a break. I am tired of being indoors. I'm tired of bees. I am tired of Mekanism. It is time to do a little base expansion. I have made a start using the different types of island tablets to get a bit of a shape on the go. And now that we've got some varying height terrain, we can start to join it all together. I'll mostly be using the building gadget, and if we click bind inventory, we can shift right click on a drawer full of dirt so we don't need to keep our inventory stocked. And all I'm going to be doing is getting down a base layer of dirt to try and fill in some of these gaps. To begin with, it is going to look absolutely dreadful, but there is a lot of space to fill, so it is a good start. Over here I guess we can step it up a block, and the same on the other side. Then we just need to blend it into the terrain and make it look natural. And for what I have planned, creeper holes are actually a wanted feature. So now I'm going to go and switch off my brain for a bit and unwind with a little bit of terraforming fun. I really do wish someone would make a replay mod for the new Forge versions. I'll see you later. So I had a ton of fun making this, and it's really helped to recharge the brain batteries. I am absolutely in love with how this is coming along. With such chaotic terrain, it really feels like I've made a brand new biome. And I have decided that this view here from the factory is going to be our point of view. Standing here, we should not be able to tell that this is a Skyblock map. And as you can tell, we are nowhere near finished yet. But most importantly, it was a break from working in the factory, and we're going to go for one more break, but this time we're going to do something together. Over here we have a secret island away from the factory. There's one item that will help creating these islands a little bit easier, and that's going to be this angel block. You can place it down in the air and build from it. It's very handy and very cheap. Now we're going to use the tablet of Summon Wilden, but this time we're going to augment it with a wing, spike and horn. Right click to start, and we have summoned the Wilden boss. Yeah, probably should have upgraded the sword for this. On to phase 2, where much like the Gaia, he is going to spawn some of his allies. Oh, and he also grows wings, so that is happening now. Oh no, please don't do that. The island isn't that deep. No, stop doing that. Hold still, let me fix this. Don't fall in the hole. Oh, you silly flying doggo. Why didn't you listen? Well, let's use some of this Allthemodium to make up some Allthemodium templates. That way we can upgrade our tools, weapons and armor. But why stop there? We can upgrade it to Vibranium and then to Obtainium for the ultimate gear until we get gem armor. As long as nothing hits us on the arms, I'm sure we'll be fine. Let's rebuild the island, put a second on top, and we can try again. All done, and now we have the world and tribute ready for the All the Mods start. Nice! What do you say we finally start a little bit of industrial foregoing? We'll start with 4 fluid extractors and we'll pop an acacia log in the middle of them. We can give these fellas some power and they will start to make some latex. Very soon we're going to need to upgrade this setup. For now, let's pop down a fluid pipe to send that latex into a processing unit. We'll pop a sink on top of that and we'll have the unit pull the water from above. This produces dry rubber which goes into a furnace to make our plastic. We can use that to make a mob slaughter factory which we're going to use to gather pink slime, though its default work area is tiny. So let us make a dissolution chamber, throw in 4 copper, 2 redstone and 2 glass panes, along with a bucket of latex to get ourselves a tier 5 range add-on. That is a much nicer work area. Then if we set up a quick mob farm in that working area using our dreadful dirt, we're going to start to get liquid meat and pink slime. We're likely going to swap the liquid meat over to a trash can since I really don't think we need much of this. We are aiming to make the advanced machine frame, which is going to need half a bucket of pink slime each. We are definitely going to want to pretty this up. Oh, of course, the supreme machine frame needs ether gas. Of course it does. Great. That means trapping the wither using our power, and our reactor keeps turning itself off. What could possibly go wrong? Even chunk loading it doesn't seem to keep the power online forever. Ah well, ignoring that for now, let me go and pretty this up. Here is a pretty sunset for you to watch while I go and do that. It is done, though there's not much to show for it. We have our dissolution chambers hooked up to applied Energistics, then over here we have our fluid extractors, and we have many of them because we need a ton of latex and plastic. Now because of space limitations, we've got the block placers underneath placing down our logs. Quick rant, why on earth is the internal buffer on these things so dang massive? Some might call 18 stacks of logs a little bit excessive, especially when you're running 10 block placers. Someone want to go and do the math and count how many logs in total that is. But as always, to save on exporters, we are sending it into a drawer and then using a pipe to distribute them. For the extractors, we are running power down either side and the latex is pulled out of the top. They go into a buffer tank which feeds into our processor. Now of course we have a storage downgrade on the plastic since I really don't think we need 2048 plastic saved up. I would kinda like to back up on the liquid latex at some point this year. And finally, I have tidied up the mob farm, where we're now backing up on pink slime even though it's going into an ultimate tank. And I've also given the system access to some of the liquid meat because we needed 1 bucket for a craft. And oh, some crafting has been done. Let's just casually pop down a gold barrel, and if we search the system for industrial foregoing, you will see that every silly little recipe has been taught and crafted. Look at how many patterns were needed. 1 for every single machine in the quests. The only problem is that we can't actually do this infinity quest. That's because each item needs a tier 12 range add-on, but there's no recipe for that. I'm clicking, but it doesn't exist. Very strange. Ah well, we'll fix it later. Right now, we just need to hold on to each of these machines and throw them into the barrel so they're out of the way. Once we're done, there's 1 or 2 that I should probably explain how to get, but let us break these quests by grabbing even more machines. That is a lot of ticked quests, and they're all loot bags? No rewards. We did actually break the quest system, but that is far too many machines for 1 mod to have, even though they kind of all have their very specific uses. Would you like to meet my new pet? All the way up on the roof, we have ourselves a wither trapped in stasis. Using this stasis chamber, I'm sure we've all seen the setup by now, but if not, above him we've got a fluid laser base surrounded by some laser drills. Each of them have speed, processing and efficiency upgrades in. Ether gas goes into a fluid tank and is connected to our system. Oh yes, you may have noticed that that silly Mekanism water tank is gone. That is because today I seen Chosen Architect setting his up, and yeah, I was a fool. We are now just using 1 sink and a little bit of integrated dynamics. We've set it to export 999 million millibuckets per tick. It's good. And I've also set up the chemical crystallizer to start turning the antimatter into antimatter pellets, of which we have 4. But for industrial foregoing, the only confusing part was getting the fertilizer to make the hydroponic beds. You get it from a sewage composter, and the sewage comes from a sewer. The last part of the puzzle is you just need any animal standing above it. Easy when you think about it. Deep dark time. Data model in hand, it is time to annoy some shriekers. There he is, the Warden of the Dark. It is time to find out if we're equipped enough to remove him from his throne. Oof, that was a hard hit. Yay, we did the thing. Yeah, even with unobtainium armor, that was a little dicey. Uh-oh, round 2, here we go. Ooh, down to 3 hearts that time. For the final fight, I finally remembered that golden apples existed, and that is all 6 wardens removed. We can pop him into a simulation chamber, use the old time in a bottle to speed it up, and start to produce echo shards. Nice. We can now teach the recipe for red matter, which is going to be very, very nice to have. 1 red matter, add to whitelist, and that is automated red matter. I am having no luck with this infinity junk. I have fully reinstalled the mod pack and there's still no recipe. It did fix our productive bee duplicate though. These rewards are still empty though, so it's not really a problem to be honest. Clicking on the add-on in JEI actually shows a recipe for the tier 12. Why does that work? Who are we to question it? I was able to craft and even auto-craft that add-on. We just can't auto-craft the infinity items because it tries to use the broken recipe. Kinda frustrating. Wait, what if we change it to the working add-on? Well, now it works! Yay! We didn't need to auto-craft it, I was just being lazy by doing the more difficult option. And that is the Infinity Trident and quest complete. I forgot to craft up the conveyor belts. This mod has so many items. You know what? We deserve to hear this sound. That was quite a grindy questline. This is our guide for getting us through to making the Ultimod star. I think the first thing that we're going to work on is going to be this improbable probability device. Although after staring at this screen for a while, I have come to some realizations. Blood magic. Fantastic mod, but very grindy. We need acceleration runes, they need a master blood orb which requires a tier 4 blood altar. That means that we need to almost fully complete blood magic for the Ultimod star. That's gonna take a hot minute. The next realization was this pulsating black hole. This is actually quite a lot of compressed blocks that we're gonna need to craft up. That is why I've added even more gold seeds to hopefully boost our reserves. So let's try and do this probability device. Pretty much every recipe has been taught, but this mega storage component requires 700,000 bytes worth of crafting storage in order to auto-craft. And this is what that looks like. This large log of a machine is what it takes to make one of those mega storage components. Oh, apparently it's overkill and it might actually be a 5 million byte crafter. Okay, so let's work on this flight module while we wait. We are missing this syringe with a level 0 ghast. I have no idea what that means. I just know that we need to spawn a ghast and left click our syringe on it. That gives us level 10, which doesn't work, so maybe it needs to be full? So a few more spawn eggs, which are craftable, and let's fill this fella up. It does! Happy days. All we're waiting on now is the mega component. Botania! So currently, I am using the exchanging gadget set to oak logs to gather up a bunch of living wood. One simple right click and it harvests and places more wood. Nice and easy. But there is no avoiding it, we are going to need to make some runes. Quite an annoying amount of runes actually. That is because I would really like a mana bee spawn egg. That's because they drop black or blacker lotuses, which give instant mana in a mana pool. It would mean skipping out upgrading mana generation, which is tedious and slow. So the mana bee needs 4 runes of mana, which is 5 mana steel and a mana pearl. Like so. Living rock goes on, right click with a wand, that is 1 mana rune done. We also need to make a rune of greed, which needs a rune of water and a rune of spring. Spring needs water and fire runes. Now we need vanilla bee spawn egg. The simple way is using a sword with a capturing enchant on some vanilla bees. 1 honey treat, 3 white petals and a spawn egg. That gets mushed together with all of those runes and we have got a mana bee spawn egg. Let's go ahead and give it some omega stats, pop it in the hive and oh, I'm a fool. Of course it would need a Gaia pylon as a flower. That requires the whole Elven Gateway stuff. Fine. There's an add-on mod for Botania? Why? It adds more runes and a mana infuser which is a tier above Terra Steel. Alf Steel? Why must you exist? Here's where we're up to. We have some of the mana infuser, elven trading is done, and so is Terra Steel, which has a seed. But in order to fight the Gaia, we are gated behind the Elf Steel. Out of all of the runes, we only have the Rune of Spring. Yay, more rune crafting. Rune of Summer, Rune of Autumn, Rune of Winter, and Rune of Pride. And Rune of Asgard. That is the mana infuser. Now for a little bit of pain. 1.5 mana pools worth of mana for 1 ingot. AFK time, I guess. We've done it! You only need 1 ingot of Elf Steel, so it's really not as painful as originally thought. We have 4 Gaia pylons set up on a temporary platform. There's only one thing left to do. Shift right click a Terra Steel on you and the fight begins. It does remove creative flight, and sadly there isn't a data model for the Gaia. All we need to do is tap them with our pointy stick and avoid the purple areas on the ground. Phase 2 mobs will spawn, easy enough to remove those. And finally the Gaia will land, a few more taps and we get loot. Yay! That's the Gaia fight. That's given us 8 Gaia spirits, but it's a fairly fun fight, so it's always handy to have a few spare. So let's grab 4 Insanium Essence, and oh my goodness, how have we got 2000 Insanium Essence? That's insane! We're only running 4 Phytogems with Inferium Seed. That really did escalate quickly. But 4 Insanium and 4 Gaia Spirits gives us 1 Gaia Spirit Seed. 9 Gaia Essence is 3 Gaia Spirits. That's kind of overpowered. Now we can take one of these Gaia pylons and finally use that as a flower for our mana bee. Even though we don't really need mana anymore as the required Botania is now done. Oh well. If you're curious, we are still waiting on the Mega Cell to craft. Yeah, it's a big one. I might need to scale up the inscriber system that we have. Yeah, okay, we definitely needed to scale it up. We are now running 3 times the amount of subscribers for each task. It's not perfect. It needs to be bigger, but it works for now. These universal presses really help a lot and they are reasonably cheap. That was the last piece of the puzzle for the improbable probability device. 1 out of 9, we are getting there. Moving on, I have just taught the recipe for the Supremium Sword. As next, we are going for the Awakened Supremium Essence. Ooh, I forgot to mention that we have some brand new auto crafters up here for maximum auto crafting capabilities. That is because I requested the pulsating black hole in the worst way possible. We're gonna fix that if we need more than 1. But anyways, we need to roll enchants on this sword to get the Mystical Enlightenment. I give up. Let's just use Mystical Agriculture just to make the book. Now we just need to remove a Wither and we get a Cognizant Dust. Now we can make an Awakened Altar with 4 pedestals and 4 Essence Vessels. Essence Vessels? That's fun to say. This is built like the other altar, and in order to get 1 Awakened Supremium block, we need 10 of each element essence. There's no Awakened Supremium seed, but there is a bee. Maybe. It looks like I need to get a bunch of each type of essence. It might actually be worth automating the imbuement chain before this. I'll be right back. What am I doing with my life? This is the wrong mod. This is Ars Nouveau and we need Mystical Agriculture. This is easy because we literally have a seed for this essence. Supremium block in the middle, Awakened block returned. So easy. And finally that is the Awakened Supremium bee. It was kinda super tedious to make, not gonna lie. And that's the Awakened Supremium Furnace. Yay! Sentient Ender is what we need next, which needs a vial filled with a witch. Where are we gonna find a witch? Oh, there's a spawn egg. Nice. Gotcha. We also need an Ender Resonator, which is gonna need an Enderman head. How on earth are we gonna get that? Well, obviously from an Enderman, but Vorpal 3 can decapitate. This might have to do. And so it begins. Just gonna speed through this bit because it's wrong, but I do kinda like sharing my mistakes. Okay, turns out we need to use this Ender Sword that we found ages ago in an end ship. Round 2, and oh dear, this sword isn't very good at all. This is gonna take forever. There it is, finally! We can request an Ender Resonator, and that's gonna make our Sentient Ender. Nice! We now have everything required to make the Philosopher's Fuel. Nice. That is now 3 out of 9 items made. Ooh, looks like there's more quests to claim for Mystical Agriculture. Wasted Radioactive Bee Spawn Egg. What the heck does this give us? 3 of them, 100% chance of wasted radioactive comb, which turns into 100 millibuckets of nuclear waste. That's going to skip out the whole fissile fuel reactor junk. We don't need to babysit the reactor. That's going to be amazing. I'm sure we will towards the end of the pack, but for now I'm going to take this win. So the bees are in and are contributing to society. And now we have a total of 22 antimatter pellets. Granted, most of them are from the reactor, but the bees are a nice passive income. But that is not why we are starting outside. I've gone ahead and set up the Mekanism brine system. We have one that receives water and outputs brine. You're going to need a resistive heater, make sure it's nice and hot. That brine is sent into a second thermal evaporation tower to get turned into liquid lithium. That liquid lithium has 2 uses. Firstly, it goes into a condensator to make regular lithium. That goes into a chemical crystallizer to make lithium dust. We need that dust to make the induction coils for the star. But we also have that liquid lithium going into a solar neutron activator. Currently, we have 8 million millibuckets of the stuff. Over here, we have 2 electric pumps, both have got filter upgrades inside, and that's making heavy water. That goes into an electrolytic separator to make deuterium. And finally, that deuterium and tritium are infused together to make DT fuel. We've then got that going into an unpronounceable item name ready for that right there. This is a fusion reactor from Mekanism. And fair play to these quests, they do a smashing job at walking you through making it, which was actually kind of helpful for me as I have not really done this in years. You just need to make sure you've got 400 million RF to even start it up. So we have 3 ultimate energy cubes with lasers on facing into a laser amplifier, which has 800 million RF in because I kind of forgot about it. That's going to shoot a laser into the laser focus matrix, and I've left all of the settings as default. So the unpronounceable item goes into the reactor port, and all we need to do is turn on the laser amplifier. To be fair, that actually looks kind of fancy. Let's throw down a task screen, select the 50 million quest, and pop on a flux point. Why can you only accept 1000 RF per tick? No idea. It can just fill up over time, I guess. Whoopsies. I was messing with settings and I stalled the fusion reactor. Yep. Whoopsies indeed. I guess we better charge the lasers again. Silly me. For the star, we are missing the Nexium emitter, an empty soul gem from occultism, an acceleration rune, and a dragon soul. That's gonna need a piglich heart block, and honestly, I have no idea where to find that fella. So what say we speedrun a little occultism? A wonderful mod, but it's kind of slow to get through. It all starts with a dictionary of spirits. First, we throw down a demon dream fruit and set it on fire to make a spirit fire. We'll throw in some andesite for other stone and oak saplings for modified oak saplings. Now we need to nibble on some demon dream fruit until we get the third eye effect, where we can then chop down the modified trees. Duh, just make sure you don't use an axe with chainsaw on it. Round 2, we get our otherworld wood. Black dye into the fire for purified ink, feathers for awakened feathers, and books for Ubat books. They let us craft up a book of binding foliate. Then combining with our dictionary, we'll bind it. We are going to need a butcher's doodad and be very mean over here. That gives us the tallow that we need to make candles. Otherworld logs into the fire for ashes and smelt down some other stone for burnt other stone. Combined, we can make impure white chalk which gets purified in fire. Now in our dictionary of spirits, we can find the folia crusher which says that we need to make an avia circle. We can visualize it and then follow the diagram with the bowls, candles and chalk. Then anywhere inside we can just pop down our regular bowls. Raw silver, raw copper, raw iron and raw gold. Then finally in the center we pop in our bind book that we made earlier. It's slow so we can time in a bottle of golden bowl to speed it up. Yay, a new friend. He could technically be an early game ore doubler for you. We just need him though to crush down some endstone. Next we need impure gold chalk and impure purple chalk, and it kind of repeats from here, with new rituals and chalk colours. Eventually we end up with Strigger's higher binding, and after some time in a bottle work, we get our empty soul gem. Gonna make a few while I'm here just in case. So that was a very brief introduction to occultism, but there's an absolute ton of content in the mod, which we're probably going to need to do for 100%. Okay, so I searched the All the Mods Discord and figured out how we find the pig glitch. It's summoned. 1 red matter, 3 unobtainium, 1 treasure core, and a Franken zombie as catalyst, which is literally just a zombie in a jar. Ding! I'm curious, can we use a mob swab on you? Nope. There is a data model though. 9,999 health. This is gonna take quite some time, I think. And we need to remove 6 of them. Yikes. Okay, he keeps moving, so let's trap him against a wall. That's better. Quite literally 6 minutes later and it's done. Ooh, we did get 4 hearts though, as we do have loot in 6. That's fun. Not going to go through that again though, so let's request a red K tar from Project E. Then if we change the keybind for extra function to something usable, this will then slay all mobs in an area around us. That's overpowered. So for our next pig glitch, it doesn't one-hit them, but it does do 1,000 damage. So we can get them to low health and then finish it off with our looting sword. I'll go quickly do 4 more and I will see you back at the factory. For the star, we still need some items, but there is only 1 quest line left to do, and that is blood magic. We'll be making the Wither's Rose, which needs 4 acceleration runes. I've taught the recipes, and we'll need 12 blank slates and 4 demonic slates. Oh, and of course the Master Blood Orb. So, standing on the blood altar, I'm going to be careful not to be very silly this time. But I just want to find out how automatable this is going to be. If I work it out, I will let you know. But for now, starting it all off by throwing in a diamond to make a weak blood orb. We'll use it to make the incense altar, which when placed near the blood altar will enchant our knife, so now I won't get repetitive strain from doing all of this. We can also use a life stone on a dark matter pedestal to heal us faster. Once we have some blank runes, we can upgrade to a tier 2 altar, and then more bits to get us a tier 3. That's as far as we can go right now without hopping to a new dimension. So we're up to the point now where we need to make the weak blood shard, which needs the sanguine reverter. That needs 350 demon will, and this is the part of blood magic I really don't like. 350 will needs to go into a common tartaric gem, which means that we need some lesser and petty tartaric gems first. So we have a sentient sword, removing some mobs to fill up this petty gem to start with. It sucks. 64 will, that is full. So let me share where we're up to. We have the shape ready for the tier 4 and I've added a few more life stones. And we have some minuscule automation using locked drawers. But let us now upgrade to a lesser tartaric gem and continue the cycle. This is the worst part of this incredible mod. Surely there's a better option that could be thought of instead of having to fill up these gems. Please? Alright my friends, let's head on over to the edge of the hidden realm. 2 keys. Hopefully that's enough. Let's go this way. Ooh, I've not seen this room before. First chest, we have the Tau fruit, and that is what we needed. Now if we use some arcane ashes on the ground, augment it with a growth reagent and add in our reinforced slate, we will introduce circles into Minecraft, and in return we get a sigil of the green grove. We can plant the Tau fruit, shift right click the sigil to activate and stand on top of the crop. It'll drain life essence out of our network and convert it into a saturated tau. That goes into the ARC with the reverter to give us the weak blood shard. We can now craft up some bloodstone bricks and finally upgrade to the tier 4 altar that we so desperately wanted. Yay! Exciting times, my friends! I've been busy and I think we are ready to do a big progression. I went and used a mob swab on a warden to make a warden spawn egg. Then using a force pickaxe with silk touch, which is literally just a cobweb infusal, I went to the nether and I stole a mob spawner. Using the warden egg on that spawner makes a warden spawner. Let's grab our wither's compass. Ouch, that is a spicy boy. And let's pop that in the summoning altar. But in here, we should, I think, have everything else that we need. We can throw all of that onto the altar as well. Now, I have modified this spawner using apotheosis to only work with a redstone signal, otherwise we'd have wardens everywhere. Oh, that's a lot of wardens. Come here, buddy. Wrong block under altar. Let's just clear these wardens out, and oh, we need another star block. You go here. Let's grab some more wardens, throw in our red matter as the catalyst, clear the wardens, and yes, my friends, just missing a skulk core, and there it is. Quest complete, mod pack complete. This video ends here if you let me. We will check out those poll results in just a moment. Firstly, let's pop this star in the energizing orb with 4 anti-creative energy cubes. And after supplying it with 2.1 billion FE, we have ourselves an infinite power source. We can connect this to our power networks and pop on a flux plug, and we never need this annoying reactor ever again. We can pop down our quest reward pedestal and throw on our all the mods trophy. We have completed the mod pack. I can finally sleep. So I'm now going to go and do a poll on the community page and see how far we need to take this mod pack. I will see you all in the morning with the results. You jerks. The results are in, and I don't know why I expected anything different. 2,900 votes and 76% of you support going for 100% completion, plus every single optional quest. We're gonna have to redo a lot of our automation, and from this point I won't be updating the pack to newer versions, that way the goalposts don't move. So this morning I made a start. I went through and made one of every silent gear item needed, and I still have no idea how on earth this mod even works. The only tricky bit was the azure ingots. The silver ones are in the end, and the other ingots are rarely found in Nether Fortress chests. We just need glittery dust and that is quest complete. For apotheosis gear we are very close. We are just missing some mysterious scrap. It's a nice problem to have, but the only way to get it is from low-level common affix items. And since we're playing on hard mode with good gear, we get kind of better loot. We also need the superior sigil of socketing, but we can't do that until we've gone through apotheosis enchanting. For that, we need to make every single type of enchanted bookcase. But anyway, let's talk about the bookmarks. There's quite a lot of them. That's because for nearly all of the top section of quests, I have bookmarked every item that we need to make. I stopped at mystical agriculture because I got bored. I think it might be time for a crafting montage. Mostly so you can see that it's being done legit. I will upload the unedited version to the second channel, Hobble Uncut. We'll finish off this session with a ludicrite block, and now I gotta go and teach a bunch more recipes for auto crafting. Yay. Okay, this is a very slow and tedious task, and it's only about to get slower and more tedious. Woohoo! There is one quest that is going to be a little bit of a doozy. Right at the bottom of productive bees, it wants us to hold 2 blocks of all the mod stars. That, my friend, is 18 all the mod stars. I'd considered going the starry bee route, but sadly this star shard has got no uses, so it can't be used to make more stars. So we are stuck using the original way, which is quite a lot of items indeed. That's 18 pulsating black holes, which for example is 1 million gravel, iron and sand. Oh dear. We are missing 18 million gold essence, 12 million iron essence, and 5.5 million redstone essence. Though I am hoping that we can cheese compacting drawers to save on the time to craft the compressed blocks. We can, so I guess that's good. I've put in the request for all of the tier 1 Klein stars that we're gonna need. We just need to then manually upgrade them once they're done. Uh-oh. The spatial anchor was removed from the mod pack, but the quest, it was never removed. Yeah, I'm gonna need to find a way to fix that quest somehow. But now, if we collect this cow in a jar reward, that is the food and farming chapter completed. Crafting up a super factory manager will complete mystical agriculture. One elite control circuit completes the basic mechanism chapter. That was a very strange noise. Lots of quest rewards, unlikely anything we're going to need. 1 mega bulky item storage cell completes the AE2 chapter. Nice. Well, we are going to need 18 Wilden tributes, so there's no harm in starting on that next. It is honestly super easy now that we have got that Project E sword. This won't take long at all. Let us do a small meditative break before continuing. Feel the stress leaving your body and into your shoes. Give those shoes away to your sibling. Now they are stressed and not you. So next we are dealing with the create mod, which most of you know that I really love. I've set up the mechanical crafter so I could make the crushing wheels which we needed for the cinder flower. We mix all of the bits together and pop it on the depot and we get ourselves a blaze cake. Yummy! Then finally a cart assembler for chapter complete. Nice! Also I managed to power through all of refined storage, so that's another chapter complete. We're flying through this. There are also more changes to our phytogen since we need so much iron, gold and redstone. We have now got a third row. It's a little bit excessive, but right now we are gated behind how long we're willing to wait. Which is not long, we want to get this done. In here, this is where all of the compacting is happening. Hey, that rhymed. Using drawers instead of auto crafters, it is so much quicker. That's 18 5x compressed gold blocks. The gold is finally done. Now we just need the wood and iron. The withers compasses have been made, which was all of the blood magic stuff that we've done earlier. The tiny crafting CPUs are now gone. And now we have got some mega crafters for more co-processing of massive crafting chains. But right now all I am doing is crafting up the awakened supremium furnaces. It's absolutely thrilling work. In regards to the bees, we are getting through all of that boring breeding. But we've got the same problem again, that our productive bees chapter is duplicated, even though it was fixed in the last patch. As much as I appreciate the extra work they're trying to give me, we're not going through this twice. There's a few bees that we're probably going to do together, like this rancher bee making the milky comb, which we're going to get from a cow being encased in amber, I think. Also the creation of this wannabe, which seems kind of complex. Yeah, anyway, back to work. I am so annoyed. I have just realized that we need 18 more Enderman heads. This is going to be a nightmare. Vector plates, Enderman egg. I've augmented the spawner so the mobs have got no AI. Maybe this will be more bearable. Yeah, dropping them into a hole seems to be the best option. We can now remove multiple of them at once. We are at 10 out of 18 of the mega cells. This has been crafting all day and it shows no sign of speeding up. No longer are we using the pitiful display of inscribers I once thought that was sufficient. Instead, we are using mega towers of doom to inscribe at the fastest possible rate. But while we wait, we have much other work to do, like the fact that we're going to need 18 flight modules, which needs 18 syringes filled with gas. That's going to keep us busy for a hot minute. Now, since we don't have chunk loading for the factory, we are going to need to stay local for our machines to keep running. So instead, maybe we can use this spawner again to bring those ghasts to us. Yep, this is working. Out of all the noises they could make, why did they choose this one? Ooh, there's two tools that I want to mention that is going to make setting up your inscribers a heck of a lot smoother. There is the memory tool, which lets you copy and paste machine settings, and then there's the network tool, which you can store all of your cards in. It's very nice. But that is 18 flight modules underway. Yay! Here is where we're up to for the stars. The black holes were so dang slow. Now, the one that we are waiting on, I think, is the improbable device, which is going to need those mega cells, which are still crafting. So, blood magic. The quest wanted us to make a greater tartaric gem, which needs these will crystals. So after scouring the sanguine sanctum, I hobbled together this mess outside here, which seemed to do a little bit of working. There's a demon crucible that had a common gem inside, with will inside of that gem. In a separate chunk, we have a demon pylon for some reason. Then you may or may not need the ritual of the faceted stone with a demon crystallizer on top of that. As the gem drains out, over time it'll make the will crystals. Or won't, I think. Who knows? Not me. This is the setup that I used to automate making the 18 Gaia and Dragon Seeds for the Dragon Soul item. You may have noticed that I've not included any of the dragon fights in this video, and that's because it is a vanilla dragon and you can one-hit the dragon using the Project E special sword. It's really not that interesting. So Botania, my beloved, why must you be so large? Not only do we need to get every single lens type, we also need to get every type of Botania flower. For that, we need an insane variation of runes. So I'm thinking that now is the time I try and work out how we're going to automate the runic altar. I'm thinking probably using modular routers. Please hold. We're on the final countdown now for the last few mega cells. We'll move these over in just a bit. First, I want to show you how to automate Botania. It's very cute. Facing the altar, we have got a modular router with an activator module, which places the items in its buffer into the altar. Above that, we have an intermediary barrel with a hopping upgrade. Facing that, we've got our pattern provider, and inside we have every rune recipe, for which there is a lot of them. Just make sure, like the other recipes we've done, the living rock is the last in the list. Oh, and of course lock the crafting until the result is returned. The next modular router has our Wander the Forest, and it's right clicking the altar as fast as possible. Then we have a router that is sending its buffer over to a pattern provider to add the item back into our system. The item is picked up by an advanced item collector, just making sure it's blacklisted to living rock and the blacker lotuses I've been using for mana generation. Oh, and lastly, a demag coil to stop our magnets from breaking the craft. Want to see it in action? Send the request and very quickly it's crafted and returned. I love it. Now Botania isn't the only frustrating one. For Ars Nouveau, they want us to make nearly every single glyph for our spellbook, all using the scribe table with assorted items. Much fun. But honestly, I think we are ready to make all of the mod stars, so let's do that next. Yep. I'm ready. Are you ready? No? Well, get comfy as we are starting. Let's go. Wardens are ready and so are we. I've turned off their AI from the spawner, so this should be a piece of cake. That's 18 mod stars. The full clip is on the second channel. With these stars, we can craft them all together to make 2 mod star blocks and complete the most insane quest in this mod pack. This took so long to do, and we get a Greg star as a reward. So technically I've totally just completed Greg Tech New Horizons, right? But one of these stars is going to make a creative mana pool, so crafting those runes will now be super easy. We can also make the creative source jar while we're at it for an infinite source. Nice. Now I have an idea for what we are going to use this other star block for. If we get ourselves a Patrick B, we can use it to make a Starry B. It's pointless but kind of a flex. So stay tuned for that as we're going to tackle that a little bit later. Next, we are heading over to the Endless Realm to try and make ourselves a tier 5 blood altar. 1 iron key and 3. That really does not bode well for me as I really don't want to make more key. But so the run begins. Dang it, gonna have to make more keys. That's 10. They're not terrible to make, you just mostly need the imbued slates. This is what we are here for, Demonite ore. Lots of Demonite ore. Since we found so much, we can just pop it in a smelter and craft up 4 Hellforged blocks. They go in the corners and we now have a tier 5 blood altar. Yay! If we pop in a Hellforged block, that'll slowly convert into the Archmage blood orb. Blood magic is now done. Nice. Dang it, I was wrong. Blood magic is not quite done. This room specifically, it'll have a special key rune on the door, and in the chest we get a foreman's key. In order to make any of these reinforced rooms, we need Hellforged parts, which can only be found in that endless mines. We use the foreman's key on this special door and it'll unlock the first room of the mines. And very rarely we can find those parts in the loot chests. We can also find miner's keys, which will allow us to go deeper into the mines. That's it! I'll go find the rest of the parts and finish off blood magic. I'll see you in a little bit. I have an idea that you're either going to love or hate. Let's do some power crafting together as one big friend unit. I mean, it's only fair that we share in this joyous task, right? So, we'll craft up a basic Fernator, basic energy cell, basic energy hopper, a basic energy transmitter, a basic reactor, a basic ender cell, basic energy cable, a basic ender gate, a hardened ender gate, a blazing ender gate, and a basic battery. That's all of the basic done. And a nitro solar panel. Quest chapter complete. Did you enjoy that? Did you enjoy making all of the power items together? I'm now going to go do that for Ars Nouveau and Botania. Do you want to come with me and do it together? What do you mean no? I guess I better go and do that. Are you sure you don't want to come with me and be in my friend unit? Oh, okay. Just me then. Okay, so as you can see from this mess, I am working through the occultism chapter. We have a new friend here, and goodness me, an observe quest actually worked. The last thing that we need to do is tick this familiar's quest line, and that is another chapter ticked off of the list. That's all of the tech chapters complete, which meant making one of each thermal machine for no reason other than this. Like, if I search thermal, you can just see how many items from the mod that we have in storage. It's nuts. Blood magic is complete, and as of just now, occultism is done. Don't worry that the base is on fire. One of the rituals summons blazes, and I've only just noticed it. I'm sure it'll be fine. Hello there. You've just caught me in the middle of making a bunch of glyphs. It's not that bad, but I am facing the problem that I face in every single Skyblock. Where do you find rabbits? First of all, I tried delightful dirt. No rabbit. Using Ars Nouveau to summon deserts? No rabbit. The only way that I could get rabbits was using the delightful dirt in the desert biome. One will spawn and immediately yeet itself off at the edge. So what you want to do is, you stand right back here, and as soon as one spawns, you want to boop it with a mob swab. Then you can make a spawn egg and you are sorted. Ooh, let me show you my newest invention. Previously, you've seen my runic altar automation. Well, let me introduce you to the petal apothecary automation. This is a little more annoying as the items do need to be dropped onto it and not right clicked. So much like before, we have a modular router facing it, but this time we're using a dropper module to drop its buffer. But if you're dropping items in world, how do you pick up the finished item without picking up all of the other items you just dropped? A vacuum module and some redstone tomfoolery. Firstly though, we need water, so this modular router is constantly right clicking our Emperor's Chalice. So when an item goes into our first modular router, it is detected by a comparator. However, we have got 6 or 7 items going through this thing each craft. We don't really want that many pulses going off to our vacuum, so that is where this inverted pulse repeater comes in. It'll take all 6 pulses, but it won't start the 6-second countdown until the pulses stop. Then our vacuum is set to pulsed redstone mode, and it only works when pulsed. And it works. Let's request an orchid. Firstly, the runes are going to get made, then the flower items get thrown onto the apothecary, pulsed and picked up. I love it. So we can pull out the flowers and that might be all of them crafted. This is what the recipe looks like. You remove the water and as always make sure that the seed is the last item. Now in order to complete Botania, we just need to do a few of the augmented Gaia fights. We have 5 drops to get, we'll do 1 together and then I'll grind out the others myself. But here is where we are up to with glyphs. I'd say we're more than halfway done at least. The animation of the scribe table making the glyphs though is quite slow, so that is where these time torches really help out to speed that up. So 1 Gaia Spirit ingot and that spawns the Gaia 2.0. We can use the special function of our sword and speed through this fight without breaking a sweat. We got a Dice of Fate. A cheeky right click gives us a Ring of Loki. The second one gives us the Ring of Thor. Let me do these other 3 fights and we'll move on. Ars Nouveau, you are finally almost complete. The annoying part was the charms. You can get the 4 main ones from the Shady Wizard. It is just this golem charm which we're going to need to deal with soon. Oh, and there's a secret quest in Forcecraft. It's quite literally invisible. Right here, the Force Furnace. I nearly did 99.99% of this mod pack. Yeah. Now, unfortunately, I have been slowly working my way through a Forbidden and Arcanas. It was going well until now. We need a mystical dagger, which needs a dark rune. They need regular runes, and there is no way to get them, except for this dimensional mineshaft I was hoping to avoid. We can pop this down here, pop in our miner that has to be made via an extreme ritual, but then we can take our time in a bottle and speed this mineshaft up. Then we just remove ores as fast as possible so we can free up the space for hopefully the rune ore. 14 runic ore. Can we crush? We cannot crush. Sad times. Hopefully this is going to be enough. It means we can make the dagger, but who knows what else we're going to need. I do. We need to build the Hep Forge, which is sending me flashbacks to arcane engineering. All I'm going to say is the Darkstone is made with an igneous extruder. I guess I'll see you when the next thing goes wrong. And goes wrong it did indeed. We have ourselves a lovely little tier 1 Hep Forge, and we were so close to being done with this quest chapter. However, you click on the stellarite piece and it says work in progress, no recipe yet. However, all is not lost. There is a very small chance to get a stellar arcanum from the mine shaft. When mined, it blows up and generates a stellarite piece. You will need the master miner Madrid, and whatever you do, don't let it break, as it does have a durability. At least the repair talisman can repair it for you. The problem is it takes one totem of undying to craft it, which is kind of hard to get. You need to get very lucky and make friends with a wandering trader to get them. Well, I didn't know we could enchant the miners. That is very cool. That means that we can now make a book for it in our enchantment library. So that's 2 of the arcanum. We break these, they explode, and we get 2 stellarite pieces. Then these X-petrified ores will give us some of the orbs. So we need a tier 3 forge. For a tier 2, we need spawner scrap and arcane crystals. Like so. Now we need 500 Oriole, 10 souls, 6,000 blood, and no XP. Blood is from test tubes we fill, and I'll show you how to do that in just a moment. For the Oriole, we need potions of regeneration too. Why does it need to be so awkward? Temporarily, I'm going to put down the obelisks to generate the Oriole passively. Awesome, the time of the bottle will speed these up. Then for souls, we use a soul extractor on soul sand. Now we just right click with our blacksmith gavel and let it do its upgrade. It's extremely pretty. Now I gotta make it a tier 3, so let me show you how to get the blood. I have 3 test tubes in my hotbar not stacked together. Now using the mystical dagger that we made, we just need to remove some mobs. As we do, it'll slowly start to fill up the test tubes. I will see you at tier 3. And that, my friends, is a handmade Eternal Stellar. We are almost done with Forbidden and Arcanas. There is just a handful of armors and weapons left to make. Finishing off with the tier boots, and that is chapter complete. Yay! We still need to do Apotheosis enchanting, the rest of productive bees, and Apotheosis gear, which needs the enchanting setup. We also need to somehow remove an Elder Guardian, we need the Golem charm, and a bunch of data models. We are almost done. Well, we got incredibly lucky from our blood magic dungeon runs, as one armor piece had a common affix, so we were able to get the mysterious scrap metal. The way that you do it is you throw it into the salvaging table and it'll give you materials in return. What we need to do now though is work through making each of the Apotheosis bookshelves. That's stone, bee, and melon shelves. A dormant bookshelf? Oh no, the hell shelves need potions of regen again. Why more brewing? It does make a cool sound, I guess. That's the hell shelf, and that is a few quests complete. Now this is where things get confusing, as we need to infuse the bookshelves with varying levels of Eterna, Quanta, and Arcana. That's the crystalline shelf done. Using another infused sea shelf, we can make a heart forged sea shelf. And another to make a shelf of Seabound Rectification. Next, a shelf of Hellbound Rectification, and a shelf of End-Fused Rectification. Someone had a lot of fun naming these. And that is the sea-themed shelves done. Now we move up here. We're going to need at least 22.5 Eterna, and at least 30% Quanta. We have 22.5 and 25%. So we need 5% more Quanta. Swapping a bookshelf for a hell shelf gives us 28%. Doing the same thing again, we have got 31. That's enough. We can now infuse hell shelves. We need, I think, 4 in total for the quests. 1 for the glowing hell shelf, 1 for the blazing, and 2 for the hell shelf of sight. There's a lot of potion brewing involved in this, but that's the hell shelf of masterful sight done. Now on to the deep slate shelves. We need 30 Eterna, 40% Quanta, and 40% Arcana. I think using these crystalline sea shelves will boost Eterna to 30. Yep, but we did have to use like 6 or 7 of them. But adding a glowing hell shelf should be the final one to boost the Arcana, and now we can infuse deep slate shelves. Yay! 1 soul touch deep shelf, upgraded to a soul touch shulk shelf. What is this mess? An echoing deep shelf, upgraded to an echoing skulk shelf. I'm struggling. And now we can finish off with the end shelves. But annoyingly, they need infused dragon's breath, which needs at least 15% Quanta, but no more than 25%. So I kinda need to change now the whole setup. So 40 Eterna and 60 Arcana, without increasing our Quanta at all. I have no idea. Let me work some things out and I will be back soon. There we go. It's not too bad, you just need to pay attention to how much each of the items gives you. It just takes a little bit of time. But the last quest on this side was to make the best setup. Fun fact about Hobble, I genuinely can't read what this blue text says. For the longest of times I have been colorblind to this shade of blue. Let me know down in the comments if you can't read it either. Let me know I'm not alone in this. But this is apparently the best enchanting system in the world of Apotheosis. Now if we fill up on melon shells we can get to 45% quanta just so we can infuse our enchantment library, and my friends, that is chapter complete. We can infuse a sigil of socketing and that is another chapter complete. We are so close to being done. Let's use Nouveau to summon a geomed island and use the Tablet of Awakening to make a friend. One little tap and he becomes the charm, and that is Nouveau 100% complete with optional quests. Yay! Well, I have just finished making the island not look like a skyblock. Are you ready to see our horizon? There we go. One chaotic horizon of trees and buildings, making it look like we are in a normal Minecraft world. This is honestly my favorite thing to do. I cannot compete with the amazing Skyblock creators who build things like island dragons, so I made my own genre, a Skyblock that doesn't look like a Skyblock. If we head through this village and follow this train track, which sadly I never did end up making a train for, we have got village number 2. It has a waterfall, and look, the villagers are playing in the water. It must be good, but I am super happy with how everything turned out. Let me know how I did down in the comments. Checking the quests, we can see that everything is now 100% complete. Hostile neural networks done except 2, Evoker and Vindicator. That's because raids don't happen here. You can get this Elder Guardian one from an Nouveau summon, and this Basal's you can only get via the summoning altar, with a blaze nearby to complete the summon. These are all of the data models that we have made, and we only made a few of each prediction since we don't really need the drops. I just made a dedicated chamber so that we could time in a bottle to make it fast. Oh, and back to the desert with a dreadful dirt this time is the only way to get a blitz to spawn, and the mushrooms spawn on one of the Nouveau islands with delightful dirt. For the Vindicator and Evoker, we have got a box filled with some villagers, making ourselves a fake village. And right next to it, we are going to use the Tablet of Challenge, and it should start to summon a raid. Why are you over there? None of you are what we need. Let's do the next level. Aha, Vindicator. Oh, that is the worst place to spawn. Aha, Magic Hands Man. Got the swab and the data model. Nice. Hero of the village? That's me. Now we can spawn in some evokers using some spawn eggs, and done. Over to the simulation chamber. That's the evoker prediction, and that's the Vindicator prediction, and that, my friends, is yet another chapter complete. The very last chapter to complete to 100% is Productive Bees. To get that milky comb, we first need an amber bee, which we're going to get from item conversion. We've got a feeding slab with a resin bee spawn egg inside, and the idea is we'll have a sponge on one side of the tunnel and a hive on the opposite side. And then we wait. The bee should go over to the sponge. Yeah, I added more sponge bees. Didn't work that time, so happy day to dance, dance, dance. Ooh, he's thinking about it. Yay, it worked! We've now got an identical tunnel for this amber bee, except this time there's a cow inside. Slurp! That's one cow encased in amber. Swap out the amber bee for our rancher bee, and hopefully very soon... Okay, even with 3 bees this is very slow. So no one told you bees were gonna be this slow. They fly around, they're lost, they can't seem to find cow. All we need is just one milky comb. But these silly rancher bees just won't go back home. Success! And that, my friends, is Milky Comb. Now if we give a collector bee a shulker shell, it'll turn into a hoarder bee. But we need 2 hoarder bee spawn eggs. The only way to get the spawn eggs is to crush down a ton of hoarder bees. Oh no. If we squish the 3 that I just made, we get a 45% hoarder bee gene. Yeah, okay, I'm gonna be busy for the next hour. I will see you soon. At least making the collector bees is nice and easy with a spawner. We just give them a hopper and a shell and we pick them up. Then we re-equip our helmet because for some horribly unknown reason, right-clicking with a shulker shell swaps them with our helmet. Of course, there was one more hurdle. So we did the Hoarder Bee spawn eggs, and I did all the other spawn eggs that we needed, right? I thought, great, hit record, let's finish this mod pack. No. Do you want to know what this tiny little thing that we need to go and do is? It's music. We need music. More specifically, Music Disc 5. We can make that from disc fragments of Music Disc 5, and we can get 0 to 1 fragments at a 45% success chance from a possessed warden. I hear you asking, where do we get a possessed warden from? Occultism. The Ihagund's enthrallment ritual, and we must sacrifice an axolotl? Where are we gonna get an axolotl from? I think I need to go and search their Discord to see if anyone has worked out where to get an axolotl from so we can finish this off once and for all. So we have our occultism ritual, and for the axolotl, there's an unconfirmed chance that we can get it from Botania of all things. Alternatively, we could remove a million Endermen, checking their backpacks for the music disc. Nah, we've done enough Enderman now. So instead, we're going to use these cocoons of caprice. If we pop them in some water and augment them with a Gaia spirit and speed them along a little, dolphin, axolotl, mob swarm just in case. Then the axolotl goes down, a quick tap, and the summon starts to happen. There he is. Let's mob swap it just in case, and yes, it works! Sorry buddy, but we're just too overpowered at this point. Our first of 9 disc fragments. We can feed the chicken some possessed warden flavoured feed, and use that egg to modify our spawner. And now we have infinite possessed wardens. Yay! That is 9 shards gathered, and that's music disc number 5. And that is the wannabe spawn egg. Oh, we appear to be missing one quest. I'll have a look for that in just a moment, but first, getting started, complete. Getting started 2, complete. The star, complete. Apotheosis gear, complete. Silent gear, complete. Basic storage, complete. AE2, complete. All of these include the optional quests as well. Refined storage, complete. Apotheosis, complete. Food and farming, complete. Hostile neural networks, complete. Mystical agriculture, complete. Project E, complete. Bigger reactors, complete. Create, complete. Industrial foregoing, complete. Mekanism, complete. Mekanism advanced, complete. Powah, complete. Thermal series, complete. Zycraft, complete. Apotheosis enchanting, complete. Nouveau, complete. Blood magic, complete. Botania, complete. Forbidden and Arcanus, complete. Forcecraft, complete. And finally, occultism, complete. 1 block upgrade. It has been a wild ride, and honestly didn't take us too long. Day 794. That is my entry for the speedrun of this mod pack. Now of course, stick around for the Hobble review, but first I want to thank you all so much for watching and engaging. It means the world to me that you made it this far. So remember to subscribe, like the video, leave the comment, boost that engagement, and share it with some friends. Or some enemies, you know, share it with everyone. And then let me know what mod pack you want to see me complete in the next one episode. Hobble's review. This mod pack took me 3 times longer to edit than it did to complete. After getting your first star, there is a lot of work to do. It took me 9.9 days worth of playtime, which is roughly 20 real world days to complete. Now for the Hobble score based on getting 100% completion. Difficulty gets 3 stars. There's nothing too technical to work through, and the quests do a pretty good job at guiding you through it. Progression gets 3 stars. Again, the quests do a reasonable job at guiding you through to getting the star, but there's not really much gated behind progression. Integration gets 2 stars. As this is more of a kitchen sink mod pack, the included mods don't integrate with each other much at all. Repetition gets 4 stars. After getting your first all the mods star, the rest of the mod pack is rough. Getting every Botania flower, power item, and Nouveau glyph It was kind of soul destroying. Endgame gets 2 stars. Before you finally reach 100%, you already can't wait to not play anymore. Only this video would make me want to finish it to 100%. Just don't do it. Innovation gets 3 stars. It is what we have all come to expect from all the mods, a solid kitchen sink mod pack. But for example, Mekanism just has the boring default recipes. We've already done them way too many times. Enjoyment gets 3 stars. I had a lot of fun with a few of the mods included. Learning how to terraform with Ars Nouveau was brilliant. I'd say that this mod pack is suited to pretty much anyone who doesn't mind not having a strict progression, since it is a kitchen sink. And finally, time is gonna get 4 stars. 20 days is reasonable, and it could have been much quicker without all of that base building stuff, so I'm pretty happy with the time invested. That brings the Hobble score to 52%. Now please keep in mind that this rating system is still new, and I'm still working on the math for the final score. If I change anything, I will update the score in the description. You eat one all the mod star block, and that is the starry bee. I think I've earned a week off, don't you? My voice is kind of gone, can't you tell? But with that, my friends, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you soon.